Good morning and welcome to Sewing Street. I'm John Cole Morgan and thank you very much for joining me on this very, very important VE Day. 75 years marks that incredible day where so many people did so much for so many. We can't ever be able to express our gratitude enough. I'm very excited to have you here early with me this morning. We have a wonderful, wonderful early birds deal with us today because I absolutely love these thread organizers. This is for your DMC threads that you do when you do cross stitch or tapestry. You'd be able to put these onto various cards. You'll see you've got a whole load of cards in your box with you, and what you do is you actually wind these threads around your cards, and you can then organize them in these incredible different box divisions in there, with able to get your correct colorway and be able to get it all right, so you can have all your, you can see there they've got all their blues in one or their greens in one, and you can just organize them all within the coordinates. And my top tip is when you're winding the thread on, you can see you've got the little cards there, make sure you take this off with it, which is the code for the DMC, and if you have that sliding out the side, you'll always have that exact number that you're looking for. Because how many of us get these products, we're doing a project or we need just that right color, and for example this one's 433 and you'd always need 435 when you've got it, but it's just such a fantastic little combination here. So you're getting the box which holds 100 paper bobbins are included, but I'm not sure how many it actually holds, because with these paper things you can, it depends how wide how much thread you put onto each one. And the other top thing about these is when you've got 2 or 3 of these specific colours, you can wind them all onto the same card and still just have your little reference number popping out the side. It's a really, really great way of doing it. So we've got, not only are you getting the box, you're also getting 10 of these different threads. They are such a great combination of colours as well. These are the colours that everybody's going to get, aren't they? So the colours that I've got here in front of me, it's 415, which is this gorgeous steely grey colour. And I'm going to lean them there, so I think that gives you a nice different way of the colour. And you've got 543, which is that lovely sort of nude flesh tone colour there. This one's 07, which is a nice sort of, I want to call it latte. It's probably not called latte, but it looks like a latte. This is 433, which is a bit more of a rusty colour. And then 922, which is that gorgeous sort of marigold orange colour there. And you've got this definite proper flesh tone here of 963. And then you're getting 3859 as well. I'm loving they've got this wonderful sort of autumnal brown colour. We've got 844 there, that sort of, I don't know what we would call that, sort of espresso with a little shot of milk in it. And then we've got 918, which is a bit more of a bronzy, coppery colour there. And then 869. Now we're just double checking if these are the threads that you're getting. Oh, right. Okay, so these are going to be completely random. So it's a bit of a lucky dip. You're going to get a whole load of different colours, 10 different random ones on there. What a nice little pick and mix on it, which is really, really good. But what's really important is we all know that these DMC threads are between £1, £1.50 a skein, and you're getting 10 of them, so that in itself is 10 quid. That's if you're able to get them for £1. And then you're getting this amazing box free as well. Well, not free, but you know what I mean. You're getting the skeins in this wonderful box for £6.99. That is just an incredibly good deal. And I have to say, I really can't explain to you how much I love this little box. Anything that's got compartments in that I can organise everything and make my life a little easier, they must come and live in my home to make things easier for me to make it all work. I love it. And you've got this little partitions that you can make, put your little pairs of scissors in there and needles, and there's a little tape measure in there. So it's multi-purpose. You can do it how you like, whatever you want to do for it, however you want to partition the box and use it. And this is the first time that we've had it on air with Sewing Street. Really, really exciting. Oh, you can see there on the back, you've got the, you can make out the division. So you've got that nice long section there, and that's where your cards are kept. And then you'd partition the cards in all these different sections all the way along. Really, really, really lovely, lovely product this. I hear they're flying out really well, so I'm not surprised because it's a really great deal. And I'm loving the fact that you're getting a little pick and mix on these as well. I think this colourway is really good. So when you get them, if you're one of the lucky early birders to be able to get this, because now our early birds are only available for 24 hours. So if you are lucky enough to get one of these, let me know what colours you get, because it's always nice to see that little colour combination. Maybe, and at that price, you might be able to get more than one. Maybe you get 2 or 3, because these boxes are never going to go out of fashion in that. And you get all the different pick and mix of colours that you get with the DMC skeins. Sorry? So the great thing with that is it's just such a useful box, because I think we all buy things that sometimes we don't use, but I know for a fact that I have got about 6 or 7 of these with all the different DMC skeins that I've got, and I know that I can't remember the other brand, but I know some people have these for their DMC, and they put DMC on the inside of the lid over there, and then they have the other brand on it as well, and then they put that brand on the inside as well, because we've got different competing brands, and sometimes you're looking for a different colour and a different brand, and it's $6.99. It's such a great price. This is really affordable for you to be able to do both. So there we go. That's our wonderful little early bird. And I'm really excited to see the pick and mix colours that you get. So please do share that with me when you get them. We've got our wonderful social media platform, if some of you haven't seen it before. We've got our Sewing Street fans page on Facebook, as well as our Sewing Street TV page, which is run by the channel. We've got Instagram, which is @SewingStreet, and don't forget, every single show that we've ever made since Valentine's Day and everything that we've got is all on our YouTube channel, which is Sewing Street. So all the videos there are in date order, so you can go back and rewatch things that you've seen, or if you bought a product, you can go back and watch the demo that either myself, Vicky, or Debbie have done to be able to show you, or some of our amazing guest judges as well, certainly with patterns that we get in as well. You'll be able to see all the patterns and how they work, and these designers' top tips on how to use them. So you can go back and search through our YouTube channel for all of those. And 9 o'clock, we've got our block of the week. Very excited about that. So on our channel as well, you'll be able to see our individual hours for every block of the week. So we've got that in a little while. I'm very excited about today's block because it's half square triangles. So now we're going to go back, and we are so proud to be able to commemorate VE Day today. 75 years since the war ended in Europe. Really, really emotional day for so many of our ancestors. And if you do have a grandparent who was around at that point, do listen to their stories, because they are very, very powerful to be able to have that first-hand experiences as well. So what has been really exciting, I have loved, is that we've asked for people, however you're commemorating VE Day on these very unusual circumstances with social distancing and not being able to be with your neighbours and families and friends. We're wanting to see how you've decorated your home and how you're celebrating. And we've had people sending messages in. If you drop us a message into the studio at Sewing Street TV, that's probably the best way of getting us. And if you've got a picture of what you're doing, please drop it down as a message, and we'll be able to perhaps share it on air as well. We've got a couple coming in, as I know before we went on, we had a few coming in. But please, we're monitoring that all the way through the show, and we'd love to see how it is you're commemorating the day. It's a really, really special day to be commemorating. So, in order to commemorate, we at Sewing Street have got some exclusive, and these have been selling really, really well before we went on air. We have got this fabulous panel that we've had in. This is, it actually is so moving, this panel. I'm hoping that I can do this justice by flopping it out like that to be able to show it. Just look how incredible that is. You can just see the camaraderie and the spirit of that time. It's just an incredible piece, this. Absolutely beautiful. This is 668 millimeters by 990 millimeters. This is available as exclusive to Sewing Street today, and it's for $12.99. Absolutely incredibly good price, and you can just tell the detailing on it, and it's absolutely brilliantly done. Really, really special. And it's definitely something that you would be able to, you could do anything with this as a wall hanging, make it in the center of a quilt, or it's just such a special piece. You want to do something very special with it. Also a very special gift for somebody. If you know somebody who was actually in the war as well, it's a really beautiful piece to be able to share with them as well. Really very, very special. I'm just looking at the detailing because I haven't been able to look at this as closely as I'd like to have. And the great thing with these is I love a good selvage, as most of you know. We've been able to keep every colour that we've used in this. I'm just going to move all this lot along. Sorry, messing up everything here. But look at what we're getting. It's just incredible. And you can see all the different colours that we've got over here in our selvage. Just a huge array of colours there. But the detailing on this is so incredible. Just look at the detailing on that plane. Doesn't it just feel like it's going to jump off the panel and fly into you? It's brilliant. I'm always in awe of these incredible designers making these fabulous pieces. Just look at the poppies at the bottom here as well. They're just so special. A really, really special piece, that panel. So that is $12.99 today. Is that right? Yes, $12.99. And this one I'm taking great care in folding correctly today. But also that is, we're very spoilt for choice on how we're commemorating VE Day today. 75 years, we've got this fantastic fat quarter panel. I'm just making sure I hold this the right way. These are 70 centimetres by 50 centimetres, or 27.5 inches by 19.5 inches. And these again exclusive to Sewing Street, and just look at that. If you're looking at that gorgeous panel we've shown you previously, these coordinating fabrics would go so beautifully with any project you're wanting to make with it. It's just very, very special. Because these are great, because they're just such great bold colours. You can coordinate these with any red, white and blue fabrics. Perhaps if you bought the panel and you just wanted to take squares around these, you can coordinate it with any other fabric as well. It would work really, really well. And you'll see as well, later on we've got these incredible design rolls as well, which we'll be able to show. But I like being able to show you the detailing on all of these as well. They're very good. Remember, our overhead is a slightly different colourway than what I've just shown you on screen, but it is no less beautiful the way that it's been done. And what I'm loving about the flags, that you'll be able to see here, they're slightly different colours as well, which is great. And I've lost my pointy thing. But you can see over here, you've got a dark blue and a light blue. I think this is a really beautiful way of doing it. And when you're using your flags and you cut them out, make sure you put them the right way so they're not in distress. I heard that the other day. I was saying somebody had used a flag in a project and they'd put them the wrong way round, and it meant that they were in distress, and I had no idea the flag went the wrong way. And then you can see these wonderful, you can see the dots on here. It's really well done. And again, having the two different blues in that combination, I think, is really special. Oh, and I see there that there's, oh, I'm loving this. They've changed them completely. Sorry, normally we've got the same ones. So these first four have got dots on them, so you can see all the dots all the way through. But these ones, we've got a zigzag there, we've got a dot, but a dot is an inverse for the red. So the previous dot up there, you'll see has got a white dot over here, but over here we've actually got a darker dot, which I think is really clever. And then we've got a plain, and they've got this lovely zigzag at the bottom here. Doesn't that make it look like water? And then these wonderful emblems that we've created for the Victory in Europe VE Day 75 years. And again, we've got that lovely dot in the background as well. It's a slightly darker dot there. I just think it's really cleverly done. And again, I'm so in awe of how they do that. Look at all the colours that they've used in this design. Absolutely incredibly well done, that. Very, very special, that. And again, a wonderful way of commemorating VE Day with this fabulous fabric. And that is coming in at $15.99 today. So now we've got the vintage bunting, I think this is called. Yes, vintage bunting. And I love bunting. Look, we've got bunting over here. We've got bunting on the front of our counter, which I just love. Love bunting. Now, if you have been on our website this morning, you may have seen that we have a website image of this, and the website image that is on there at the moment shows that you're getting two. Unfortunately, that was an error. We're all doing our very best to keep everything flowing, but with social distancing and making sure we've got as many people as possible to do the job, but as few people as possible to make sure everybody's safe, things have slipped through the net. So you are only going to get one of these. The image on the website is incorrect, so do make sure you just check that out. So you're going to get this. But the detailing on these is so incredible. And what I love is you've got that zigzag from the fat quarter panel that I've just shown you there, but you've got the combination of dots, so they all coordinate so beautifully together. And you can see all of these all the way through is really good. And what we've done as well is we've given you quite a good gap there. I'm just grabbing my little ruler to show you how wide the gap is. So you've got a 1 inch gap there. So if you were wanting to cut down the middle there for a 1/2 inch, you could easily then do a fat quarter, listen to me, a 1/4 inch seam, and you could easily then stitch that along. So you'll be able to make a panel, vintage, what are we calling these, bunting blades? Well, you'll make a bunting very comfortably then by cutting that off, and you won't lose any of your flags. So if you were wanting to do single-sided bunting, that's the way that you could easily do that. So that's just a nice way to show. But what I love most about this little panel, not only are you getting this fabulous set of vintage bunting, but also you're going to get these fabulous little aeroplanes. You've got 2 little aeroplanes, and you've got the Victory in Europe symbol. So these would be great to just get some white fabric or blue or red or anything that goes with it, and then you can just applique those on using some lovely Bondi web, a satin stitch all around the side, and you've got some fabulous extra, we've got 3 extra pieces of bunting there. Because with this type of bunting, what I love about them is they're so bold and so vibrant, but in order to make them stand together, it's nice to intersperse them with some plain fabrics. So it's quite a nice way of doing that. So this is our vintage bunting that we've got. $7.99 there. That's 70 centimetres by 80 centimetres of bunting. How many buntings are we getting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. We're getting 15 bunting blades on that, which is a really good price on that. And again, that's exclusive to Sewing Street, so if you won't get that anywhere else. But now, not only have we got the vintage one, which is a little bit more traditional, this one, I have to say, I think might be my favourite. This is the floral Union flag bunting. And just look how bright and vibrant that is. And again, you'll be able to see just underneath the screen where it says $7.99, you'll see that lovely little flower emblem as well. That's just another one of those added extras we wanted to make sure that you had. And you're getting 5 of those various floral cutouts, as well as then the Victory in Europe 75 VE Day again. Really, really lovely combination of these, and I'll just show you how well these have worked on it. And what I'm loving is on these stripes, they're actually just vintage wallpapers almost. They're just very, very cleverly designed. And then again, we've got that wonderful pop of flower there. And what I love is look at these beautiful little flowers here. And then like the aeroplanes from the previous ones, you would just cut those out how you'd want. And then again, plique those onto a different fabric piece, and you could easily then have a separate bunting piece. And then on the other side of the panel, you've got this fabulous Victory in Europe emblem there. Again, you can cut that out as an additional piece, because I think you could probably get another little bunting out of that as well. And then you've got another floral. It's just very, very nicely coloured, and you've got this sort of wheat sand coloured cream over here as the, not as a white that we had on the previous. Oh no, that's the same colour. They're really, really great fabrics, these. They're just really, really special. Very, very good. Really lovely, those. And then the last of our VE Day commemoration fabrics that we have today are the VE Day fabric, the design roll bundle. Design roll bundle, listen to me. The design roll, sorry, that was what I was trying to say there. And oh, I just love these, look at that. I'm going to show you to the side first and you can see all the different ways that this pops out. They're really, really beautiful. And the great thing is you've got a lot of traditional colours there as well. Look at that gorgeous gingham and the spots of different widths as well. They're really thought out very, very well. And you can see over here you've got the white spot in the dark blue, and then you've got, oh, this one's a bit of a floral as well. Let me show you how wide these are because, oh, I've just put all my DMC threads on the floor. Sorry about that. They're going for a little journey. So I'm going to show you these again, just to show you. These are 55 inches wide by 2.5 each strip. Just look, it's huge. Absolutely huge piece of fabric today. So this is now 106 centimeters by 140 centimeters. So the width of the panel is 140 centimeters and then it's 106 centimeters down. I'm just counting now, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There are 16 different strips in this as well. Again, exclusive to Sewing Street as well. And again, we're just very proud to be able to create something so wonderful for this commemorative day. Just going to lift these up as well. But the great thing as well is that these are not just for VE Day. You can look at that and you can just see that is just a beautiful summer project there waiting to be done. I'm looking at this and thinking, actually, a tablecloth. That is just as a little tablecloth on its own is just wonderful. But even then sewing these together as well would be really great. I'm going to fold this up now so I can show you all the details. I really am throwing these DMCs around today. Oh goodness. I wonder if I throw them around the studio enough whether they get to stay here. I just love DMC threads. So here we're just going to go through and see each one as well because I think it's important. So this floral on this red is absolutely incredible. So you can see that's got like a dark dot on it. That's got a light dot, but look at that beautiful floral in the background of that. Really subtle, very clever. And then again, we've got sort of that wallpaper-esque with the floral on it as well, which is quite traditional. We've got that fabulous gingham. And you can see our spots from there. We're increasing in dot size as we get to this one as well, which is great. And then again, we've got that gorgeous cream with that floral. And then the gingham again, which is just special. And I love the fact that we've got, is it 3 different ginghams on here? 3. Really special, but they've done them so cleverly. Because on the dark one here, you can see you've got your white square there, but just underneath it, you've actually got it's either a dark navy or a black square underneath it, which is just something very, very unusual. And again, here we've got that lovely floral background print. We've got this as sort of a wallpaper-esque colour there. Really special. And then this is the same design as that one, but just in a totally different colourway as well. Very, very clever way of doing that. Really, really good. So that is our fabulous VE Day British design roll. So I'm hearing we've got some pictures coming in as well at some point. So please, if you haven't sent your picture in yet, best way of doing it is if you message into the studio, the best way to do that is on the Sewing Street TV page, and there'll be a little block somewhere at the top of the page that says message us or send us a message or message. Just click on that and then drop us down a message. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about any of the panels that we've had today that you'd like to see something more of, by all means, we can then easily show that to you. And by messaging into the studio at the time, we're able to answer any of your questions on air, which we're able to do. So make sure you do that. We'd love to hear from you. It's really, really great to be able to interact with you, especially when we're on the show as well. Oh, we have a picture in already from Elaine. Elaine from Staffordshire. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, Elaine, well done. That's lovely. Nice inspiration for us for today as well. Congratulations. That's lovely. And thank you so much for sharing with us. I'm loving the way that you've put your flag with all those different blues. That's really clever. That's wonderful. Very, very special. Please do send your pictures in. We love seeing what you're doing for the day as well. So now what we're going to do as well is, so we've shown you these wonderful designs that we have which are exclusive to Sewing Street, but as I said earlier, certainly with these various buntings, what I love to do is if you've got a gorgeous bunting piece like that, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but in a way I kind of feel if you have them next to each other, not that you lose them, but in order to make them really pop, what I like to do is I like to mix a solid with it as well, so that you can actually just make your I want to say your star piece, but I suppose they're all star pieces, but you want your really special fabric to pop and really show. So over here we've got your traditional red, white and blue. These are available by the ½ meter online at the moment. We are quite low on stock because all of you have the same idea as me, making sure that you can then coordinate your fabrics accordingly. This is our gorgeous navy colour, ½ meter, 100% cotton. It's about 44 inches wide and £3.49. That's less than £7 a metre. And you can see that that is a really, really gorgeous deep navy. And if you're interested to see how that goes with your colourways that potentially you're buying with it, I think it's always good that I just pop that on there and you can see how it's going to blend in with your fabrics. You can see that's just perfect. It's a really, really good navy to go with your fabric there. Really, really great one. And I'll show you the vintage colourway with that as well, just in case you're getting all of these as well. It's nice to get the coordinating to see how it's going to look. But even if you're not buying these for a specific project, it's a really great way of doing your stash, adding to your stash and making sure that you've got the right colours. But also, as a fabric person myself, I like to know how it all goes together. So that's the navy by the ½ meter. And then we're going to show you the white as well. £3.49 again for the ½ meter. I know we've been struggling to get the white in, so I'm pleased to see it's back. And this is a real staple for any of your products, any of your fabric that you're going to do. Anything you're making, white is it just goes with everything. Again, £3.49 for a ½ meter. If you wanted to buy 2 meters, you would buy 4 units, and that would come to you as a 2 meter piece. And again, that works beautifully with any of our design rolls. You can see that that pops beautifully in there as well. Whoops, I'm getting these at the wrong height. There we go. You can see it just pops in beautifully with that one. And then with our beautiful floral one that we've got as well, you can see that that works beautifully in there as well. But again, white goes with everything, so we know that that would work. And this DMC, they really are flying around the stage today. My stage manager's going to have me for getting these thrown around. So there we go. We've got this gorgeous white colour there. And again, now, this red one, we are so limited on this red, it is not even funny. I don't even know if there is any stock left in there at the moment. So make sure if you want red, before I show it, put it in your basket. If you haven't checked out, do it now, because we were so low on the red this morning. We didn't actually know if we would have stock before we went on. Oh, it's pointless even showing you, it's gone. But I'll show you anyway. So this is the red, it's £3.49 a ½ meter. We will be getting it back in stock in soon. It's the most popular colour we had on this morning. So no matter how much stock we were able to get in, it just keeps going out. But that just shows you the way these coordinates that we're getting in, these staple colours, they work so well, and everybody's agreeing with that as well. So those are the 3 colours we had there. Which one? We're going to then do our red spots. Look at these. And again, these red spots work perfectly with all of these bunting and all of the different products we've got there. Look at that. ½ meter of that. This is the cotton poplin spots on red fabric, ½ meter for £3.99. And it's Rose and Hubble, so you know you're going to get great ones there. And I'll just show you again, what's so great with this is you can actually see on that flag at the bottom, you've already got a red dot, so you couldn't possibly have asked for a more perfect coordinating colour there. This is a vintage way there. And again, I've folded that perfectly for a change. You've got that gorgeous red dot all the way through your flag there as well. So this goes really, really well with the bunting as well. Now, on our wonderful navy spots that we've got at the moment, unfortunately, our little gremlins on our website are taking a good old run at us today. So what you're going to need to do now is, if you are interested in the navy's cotton poplin spots on navy, half metre for $3.99, you're going to have to type into your search bar the code. The code is L for Lima, K for Kilo, L for Lima, J for Juliet, 80. Otherwise, if you call up on our call centre, it's a UK-based call centre, 0800 001 4433. That's a toll-free number, so you shouldn't have to pay for that on most landlines and mobiles. If you do want to give them a call, they'll be able to add that to your basket for you. But unfortunately, it's just not popping up as a standard on the page at the moment. These gremlins will get us, I know. But you can see how beautifully well that I'm going to hopefully hold the fabric in the right way. You can see that pot works perfectly there. So that was our vintage colourway there, and we've got our have we called this the floral? Sorry, I'm getting my names confused there. The floral bunting there as well. So you can see they just work really, really well with all of these fabrics. Wanted to make sure you had enough coordinates to be able to make whatever project you were doing work. And really, again, that's $3.99 for a half metre. Sorry, it's not on the website for you to click on, but it's a really easy search. Lima, Kilo, Lima, Juliet, 80. So now I am really excited about this because I had these on a couple of weeks ago, the cotton canvas. They are amazing. I love them. Great for bag making if you're wanting to do. Now, if you are wanting to make a quilt as well, this is really good as a backing for a quilt because it's, what was the weight on this? Do we know? I can't remember the weight. I think it was 80 or 120. We're just going to check now. But the great thing with this is that it's nice and long wearing. So if you were wanting to make a picnic quilt, this is the perfect back for it. When you're quilting it, just use a thicker needle when you're quilting it and it won't cause any problems with your thread. But this is great because it just gives you a great longevity on your quilt because you've got that stronger back. So we've got the navy, the red and the white, metre and a half, and it's £11.49 for a half metre of each of these colourways, and it's a really lovely feel. And I think we're getting a mixed weight on these. I can't remember what it was. Sorry, I can't remember. So there we go. So we're getting this lovely navy. What was the width on this? I think that's 55, isn't it? Really lovely width on this. I'm sure it's definitely wider than the traditional 44 inches. Oh, I'm hearing there's also a saving, that if you buy this as a bundle, you are making a saving than buying them by the half metre. We do have them by the half metre as well. I'll show you that once I've shown you the bundle. So that's the navy. And I'm going to show you them as a bundle, so we're just going to pretend I folded that. So this is our gorgeous red, and it's such a beautiful, rich red, this one. Really nice. So this is the second piece in our three-piece half metre bundle. So it's 1.5 metres in total, our natural cotton canvas bundle, £11.49. And it is a 55-inch width on the fabric, and that's by the half metre. Again, it's when we're doing these as bundles, you can only get them as half metre cut pieces. So if you bought 2 or 3 of the bundles, they would come individually cut as half metres because the bundles are already pre-cut. But if you were buying them individually, you would then be able to get longer pieces and wider pieces by buying them individually. But you won't get that saving. So this is the white, natural cotton canvas fabric there. And this is the third piece in our 3 fabric piece bundle there for 1.5 metres of fabric. Half metre of the white by 55 inches. And those 3 colours are £11.49 for the 3. So now we'll do these individually as well. So we'll start with the navy. This one by the half metre. And you can see again, gorgeous colour. $3.99 by the half metre. If you wanted 2 metres, you would be buying 4 units because these are by the half metre. And the code, I don't think you need to search this one on the code. I think the website's being really kind to us in every other ways. We've only had 2 issues this morning, thankfully. But that by the half metre is available as well. DMC's not included because I keep throwing them in there. Wonderful, so that's the navy. And now we've got our lovely red again. Again by the half metre, these are $3.99. It's a really nice red. It's really, anybody who does anything with fabric knows it's really hard to find a really good red. And this one really, really does. And I think the first time I used this, I feel awful, I've forgotten the lady's name now. It was Angela Presley, that's who it was. Angela came in and made the most fabulous bag with us. And she used these cotton canvases for bags, and they are absolutely incredible. That was the red. And now we've got our natural cotton here as well by the ½ meter. And again, a crew, sorry, not natural. A crew, look at that. It's just really, really special, that. Nice, good, solid white on that. $3.99 by the ½ meter, it's 55 inches wide. And again, if you wanted 2 or 3 meters of it, you would just then increase the multiple units in order to get the size that you want. So if you want 3 meters, you're buying 6 units, and that's $4.99 per ½ meter. Now, if you are looking to make bunting and you like that fabric, I have got a really fab way of doing it. Now, all of you know I love the least amount of steps in a process, the better. So what I'm going to do is, this I'm just using as a template because normally I would draw that onto a piece of card and be able to want to. So if you bought the bunting panels and you were wanting to do individual pieces in between, firstly, I would trace that out normally onto a piece of paper, normally because I'm quite prone on making mistakes in my studio, so I would normally probably cut halfway through it. But we've got these fabulous pinking shears today, 23 centimeters, 9 inches for $14.99. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I did previously, I do a practice cut, just to get my confidence, to make sure I can do it. Hopefully I'm not going to cut so badly there. And what, excuse me. And what I do as well, so because I'm terrified I am going to knock that apart, I'm going to put my ruler there and then just hold my ruler there to give me a bit of a guide as to where I'm cutting. And the great thing with bunting is it is a good way of you actually, no, that's not going to work. But I'm going to draw it. Yep. I'm going to fold it. Why don't I just fold it? Sorry, I'm being really silly this morning. I haven't had enough coffee. So there we go. So I fold that on the line. And I go there. And then over here, I'm going to fold that towards me, just so that you can get an idea. Normally you'd have a little piece of paper, and I'd feel quite confident I'd have my piece of paper, and if I cut through the paper, it wasn't a problem. If you cut through the set here, I'm not quite sure what happens. Haven't done it yet. Right, so now you can see I've got a little folded line of my triangle there, and all I'm doing now, hopefully accurately, I'm using my fabulous pinking shears Doesn't that sound feel amazing? And then what I do is I go a little bit over, and then I rotate my fabric and throw another DMC on the floor. And on the other line over here, now on this side, I'm not even bothered that I've missed it. Doesn't matter. You've now created a separate bunting piece that you can put in between it. So do you remember what I said to you earlier about I love the fact of being able to put coordinating fabrics with it, because it just extends, not only extends your bunting, but it also makes the bunting around it pop more, because doesn't that just make your reds in that pop a lot more? So what you do then is put those maybe 4 or 6 inches apart. I think the suggested guide is that you do 2/3 of a bunting panel away from each other before you put the next one. I think that's what they said. Otherwise, you can do it how you like. You can put them next to each other, attach that to some bias binding, voila. But these pinking shears are a really good way of doing it, because you can see, without very much effort or skill, ask me, you can tell you've just got a nice extra little bit of detail on there, and it gives you a nice crisp point to be able to do it. And that then won't fray, and you then can quite comfortably pop that in between your bunting. Really, really nice little project that. And pinking shears there, these got a lovely purple handle, 23 centimeters, and they are $14.99. Lovely little product there, and you can tell that works really, really well. So now that we've done our fabulous commemorative pieces here, I am going to show you one of the most fabulous collections from Moda. So this one is it called McKinney? McKinnock Island, sorry. I knew it was McKinnock something, sorry about that. So when we launched this, we were having problems with our little website. I tell you, those gremlins have been with us for a day or two. Sorry about that. So again, just please bear with us at the moment. We're doing the very best that we can to keep everything up and going. But today, the website is working, everything's all going strong. And if you do want to purchase these now, you can just look for them on the website under the picture, and they're there. And you'll be able to get these. This is a fabulous bundle. We've got 4 meters. Right, so I am now hearing, this is a 4 meter bundle. There are 8 pieces, ½ meter of each. We are selling them by the ½ meter. However, there are 2 fabrics. There are 2 fabrics that are this fabric is sold out completely. So the only way you're going to be able to get this fabric is in the bundle. And when I say super limited stock on this one, I'm just going to do that. If you want it, Google it, look for it now, because when I say super limited, I mean it's going to have been gone by the time I finish showing you this. So these are the most fabulous collection of colours here. Really, really special. Let me show you the whole bundle as a roll. Come on, let's see if I can do this. There we go. Perfect. They're just fabulous. So I'm going to show you each of these fabrics as we go. This is I can't remember what this one's called now. This one's, I think, is called Red Berries on White. And just look at that. Sprig berries, sorry. I'm going to push that way so you're not getting confused sorry, I'm going to move this out of the way. Perfect. So this is now the first of the ½ meters in the bundle. Perfect. So that's the first one you're getting. And then the second one you're getting is this gorgeous blue paisley here. Isn't that just beautiful? Look at the detailing on all of these flowers. They're absolutely brilliant. Then we're getting the faded roses on red. Just look at them. And they're so clever the way they coordinate these two as well. And what a fun little stripe and star. That's a red stripe and star. But as well, in here as well, these are not dots, which I love the detailing that they've gone into when they make these. They've just got this fabulous. Now remember, the colour on the overhead is slightly different. So you can see just that's not even a dot. But when you look at it from afar, you can think, oh, that is a dot. But when you look into it like that, you can see it's not. And this is the same for the next 3 fabrics. It's a really special little addition. And then you got it in the navy blue, stripes and stars. And again, that wonderful little star is the dot on that as well. And then, are we calling this white on red? Cream on red, okay, called cream red, whatever they called it. But there we go, you can see that. It's a really lovely fabric, that one as well. And then the cream blue dots, look at that! And then of course, and I think the only way you could have gotten that cream dot and this navy paisley is going to be through this bundle. We're just checking the stock on the dot now, but we're going to come back to that in a minute or two. But look how the detailing on that, isn't it just beautiful? So there we go, that's our bundle there. 8 pieces there, ½ meter of each. You're getting 4 meters of fabric. And the only way of being able to get this blue paisley is, unfortunately, in this, but not unfortunately, because there's nothing unfortunate about this bundle. The only way of getting this blue paisley is in this bundle here. And that's for $58.99. And have you noticed our wonderful red, white and blue colour combination? Wanted to make sure that we're keeping it as patriotic as we can. So we're going to do these individually next as well. So unfortunately, as we know, that one is no longer in stock, so you won't be able to get that individually from us. Now, when I say limited, I am not joking. This is the most limited that you can get on our without being sold out. So this is our cream and blue dot. So this is literally, I'm going to have shown it, and I'm sure somebody's going to put it in their basket, and that will be the end of it. But there is so little of the stock here. Now, that just reminds me to remind you as well, when you've got something in your basket, if you haven't checked out, unfortunately it's not yours. So if two of you got it in your basket and one of you checks out, it will unfortunately take it from your basket if you haven't checked out. So you do need to make sure if there's something you love, you need to check out. We've got our one-day P&P, so you're not going to pay any more for it by checking out multiple times during the day. You'll say that you'll pay the same postage throughout the day. Whether you're buying a sewing machine, whether you're buying a fat quarter of fabric, whatever you're buying, you pay the same postage throughout the day. Here we've got our cream and red star and, what have we called it? Red striped star fabric. That's £7.49 for a half metre. And then we've got our blue star. Blue striped star, that's a half metre there for £7.49. And then I think we've called this our red striped star. Now, just what I love about the detailed design that motor designers have is that wonderful eye for detail, because we all thought those were little dots in between, but when you zoom down on it, you can tell how special it is. This one is, what was it? Faded roses on red. There we go. And that's £7.49 for a half metre there. Do we want to have a look at the detailing on these roses? These are so beautiful. And I think it's important to have a look at these as close as we can just to get the idea of what you've got here. They are so special. Oh, I found my pointy thing. There we go. I'm trying to find where we are. But again, you can see just how beautifully vintagey this is as well. I don't know if that's a word, but you all know what I mean. And look at that. Really, really, really subtle. Very special, that. This is our faded roses on red fabric. £7.49 for a half metre. And just when you look at the leaves and the detailing on the leaves, we're right there. The detailing's on the leaves here. Even this tiny little stem here has two different colours, and I think this has got three different colours in it here. It looks like it's got three, it may not, but it's absolutely lovely. Very, very special fabric from Moda today. Thank you for that. And I haven't folded this correctly. I don't know how I've done that. So we're just going to pretend that I folded that correctly. You know what I'm like with my folding. There we go. You will fit. But this one I think is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So this is called Blue Paisley, Island Blue Paisley. But look at that. So this is a shirt, would be incredible. Also, anybody who's doing a stack and whack, this would be incredible. So a stack and whack, many of you don't know what that is when you get 8 repeats of fabric. I'm going to get my little ruler so I can work out what the repeat is. So a repeat of fabric is, so when we look at the fabric here, you can see, so you'll get 1 point over here, so you'll get that little heart of that flower there. So from there to there is a repeat, so you can see just above it, that blue flower is that blue flower there, and the next one down. So the repeat on this one, oh, it's 2 inches 7/8. Gosh, that would make lovely little 5-inch blocks all the way. And you wouldn't need huge amounts of fabric of this. So for a stack and whack, you would either need 6 or 8 repeats of your fabric. So you'd probably need about 2 meters, possibly 3 of this to be able to make a stack and whack on it. But it's just such a fabulous fabric. And when you're looking at the detailing on it, like on all these little paisleys, you've got a red dot just before each and every line on the outside of this. It's just working so beautifully. Just creates so much more interest in what it is that you're looking at. So that is our, what we call it, light blue on paisley. Just blue on paisley. Not just blue. Blue on paisley, you know what I mean. Blue on paisley there. That was £7.49 for a half metre. And I folded that one correctly now. And then last but certainly not least, we've got our Island Sprigs Berry on white. £7.49 for a half metre again. And also the detailing on this is just so beautiful. Really, really special fabric, this. You can just see these wonderful little pop of red flower in the middle there. It just works so beautifully. So there we go. Those are all by the ½ meter. And don't forget, we can get that whole big bundle there. 8 pieces for ½ meter, 8 ½ meter pieces. So 4 meters of fabric throughout there. I think it was $58.99. And it's the only way you're going to get this navy paisley on the end, unfortunately. And I think our cream blue dot would have sold out by now as well. Really, really, really limited stock on those as well. What a wonderful collection of fabrics. Right, I have a stock update. The cotton canvas bundle is completely sold out now. So if you do want to get any of these, unfortunately, you're going to have to buy them by the ½ meter. So you won't be able to get that as a bundle anymore. So yeah, that's a really great product. So last but not least, we've got our lovely Harbour fabrics here as well. Again, exclusive to Sewing Street as well. These are our design roll strips here. These are 1, 2, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 8 of these. Sorry, I was just having a moment there trying to count. Definitely not enough coffee in the morning. So these are $12.99 for our strips. They're 140 centimeters each. I'm flicking it out as we go to get the colorway on there, and you can see the different colors and shapes on it. So that's our design roll there that we've got. That's $12.99 for the 8 strips there. We also have our fat quarter bundle. I think this is fat quarter, gosh, where are we? This is set number 1. The SKU is RNUU05. So this is our fat quarter bundle here. And all of our fat quarters are 27.5 inches by 19.5, so they're a little wider than a traditional fat quarter there. Those are our 4 fat quarters by Harbour Design. That's set number 1. Sorry, I can't do them. They're too big. They're just too big, though. And then this is now the design roll, the fat quarter set number 2, CSUU. And these are the, oh, come on. There we go. You can see the wonderful detailing on all these shells. And then we've got our fabulous hexagon pieces here as well, the EPP hexagon pieces. So the great thing with this is we pre-printed these onto fabric for you, that you can then cut these out to the various sides of the size of the hexes that you want. And with my trusty ruler here, I'm going to measure the outside edge of these. So these are 2 1/4. So you would be able to get a 1 3/4 hexie on there if my maths is correct. But it's 2 1/4 sides of each of the hexes. And these are slightly easier to fold than the ½ meter. And then we've got our design squares as well. These are the fabric squares. This is, are there 40 of them? Get 40 different squares on there, 2 of each one. And you're getting 2 of each of the designs here. I'm not sure how. And there we go. So the early bird we've had this morning is selling so well, which I'm not surprised about. I'm hoping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I think I've got all 10 here. 3, 6. Yes, I've got 10. Woo! So these are brand new to us today. We've got this fabulous thread organizer, which holds huge amounts of different threads. But what's so great about this is you're getting 100 of these paper bobbin cards here. And what you do with each of those bobbin cards, and also you've got this little compartment here where you can store your tape measures, you can use your scissors and various bits and bobs in there. You can see people have put them in here. But what's great is when you get those the paper bobbin holders, you're going to get 10 of these DMC threads, completely random. They're not going to get the colours that you've got on the screen here or the ones I read out earlier. Completely random, total lucky dip, and you'll be able to then wind these over those paper bobbins and then compartmentalize them throughout the way, get your colorway going, get your rainbow done, and you are able to then get that for $6.99. Now, as you know, most of the DMCs are £1 each, £1.50 each every time you buy them, so that alone will be £10–15 on it, and you're getting the box for $6.99. Really, really great product there, and no wonder they're selling so well. So next block of the week, very, very excited. I look forward to seeing you in a few minutes. We're just going to reset the set.
Hello there, I'm Debbie Shaw, and I would love you to join me on the first Monday of every single month for Sewing Street Surgery. Now, this is a dedicated hour where I answer your questions, and that could be questions about techniques, it could be questions about tools, it could be questions about new products, or maybe something that you've seen that you just don't understand. There's a lot of questions about tensions on sewing machines, and there's a lot of questions about working with different weights of fabrics. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask me, the easiest way to bring a question over to us is to go to our Facebook page and post your question on there. I will collate all of those questions throughout the week. If we need any new products for you, or if we need any new demonstrations, those will all be worked on leading up to that first Monday of the month. So do join me, Debbie Shaw, on Sewing Street Surgery on the first Monday. Hi, I'm Debbie Shaw from Sewing Street, and these are my 5 top tips for successful sewing. So, number 1, always use a good quality thread. A good quality thread will keep your seams stronger and also help to prevent lint building up inside your sewing machine. Tip number 2, if your project isn't going quite according to plan, put it down, walk away from it, come back again the next day, and you'll probably find that things don't seem half as bad as they did. My tip number 3, never throw away your sewing machine manual, always keep it to hand, because you're going to find hints and tips, techniques and troubleshooting in that manual. You'll miss it if you lose it. My tip number 4 is to read your pattern instructions before you even cut out your fabric. Different manufacturers of patterns will give you different instructions, different ways of constructing your garments and different seam allowances. So to have a successful garment, you need to follow the instructions precisely. And then tip number 5 is don't give up. Every professional sewer sewed their first seam. Every professional quilter quilted their first quilt. Every professional quilter sewed their first line of wonky stitches and had to get out the quick and pick. That's no different to you. So I hope you find these useful. If you want more hints and tips, then why not go to Sewing Street on channel 74 on Freeview, on Sky 670, and of course we have a YouTube channel where you can catch up on previous demonstrations. We'll see you soon.
Shopping with us couldn't be easier. If you want to shop online, then you can head to our website, www.sewingstreet.com. It will redirect you to our sister channel Jewellery Makers landing page. Don't worry, you haven't gone to the wrong place. We're simply using their website temporarily while we're building our own web shop. Scroll down past the Watch Live part and you'll see all of the products that you will have seen on air on today's live show. You can also shop our catalogue by clicking a category, clicking a product to view closer and adding it to your basket. Once you're ready to check out, you will need to create an account, which is absolutely free to do so, but it will mean that you can check out on as many orders as you want throughout the day with still only paying 1 postage and packaging. If you'd prefer to speak to somebody in our UK-based customer service team, then you can do so via the free telephone line number 0800 001 4433. They will not only help you create an account, but will also help you with any of your online shopping.
Hello and welcome. We love hearing from you, and we really hope that you can follow us on our social media platforms. We've got Instagram, which is at Sewing Street. We have Facebook. We've got 2 Facebook pages. One is the Sewing Street TV page, and the other one is Sewing Street Fans. All 3 of these are monitored all the time by our wonderful team, and if you want to message us on air, drop us a line on either of those 3 and we'll definitely be able to answer your questions that you may have. If you post on the actual wall, we can perhaps answer there. Otherwise, message us as well. That works really, really well. Thank you so much for being involved, and it's only because of this community that we're able to bring you all these different diverse products and to be able to answer your questions that you may have. Another way you can stay in touch with us is by signing up to our newsletter. These newsletters are sent out to you very regularly, and they include not only our guest profiles of upcoming guests, but also amazing shows that we've got coming up for you. And if you want to look at the amazing products before everybody else, that's the best way to do it. If you'd like to sign up and you haven't already, the link to follow is www.sewingstreet.com/sign up. You won't regret it. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Sewing Street. I'm John Cole Morgan and I am so excited to have you with me this morning. It is my fabulous block of the week, which I'm really, really excited about. And the block we're doing is that one there. I'm very excited. Half square triangle realness. And I tell you now, the best thing you're going to have in your arsenal this morning is, what is coming, because we forgot to put it out, is my rotating cutting mat. Love it. Thank you very much for that. As if by magic. So if you haven't got a rotating cutting mat, make sure you watch the next hour. This is the most fabulous product. You're definitely going to need that in this hour. So let me show you what we're doing. As you know, our block of the week is what we're doing is because we're all stuck at home, we wanted to make sure that we had something that we can all do together. I think people always react well when they've got a project that they're doing with people, something with a common goal and something that you're doing together. And you can then share your experiences in it, ask questions. And I love seeing your finished blocks on our social media platforms as well. So please make sure when you make a block, pop it up online, and you can join us at any time. You may be joining us today for the first time and not know what the block of the week is. We're doing week 5. We've already made 5 blocks. And if you've missed a show, don't worry. Pop onto YouTube, our Sewing Street channel TV channel on there. We'll be able to have every single one of our blocks of the week. We pull it out by the full hour of our block of the week. We pull out every week, so you'll be able to see exactly what it is that we're doing, how we make the block, my top tips with regards to quarter inch, not quarter inch. Last week you'll be able to see I did that very, very good tutorial on being able to show you what a quarter inch is and what a scant quarter inch is and how important the two are together, which is very important for today's class. So yeah, be able to keep in touch with us on social media. You'll be able to catch up with what we've done. And we're now going to show you the blocks that we're doing. We've got 3 different colorways. This is our fabulous Brights colorway here, which is so lovely. And this is the one I'm going to do the demo with today. We've got our wonderful blue colorway over here as well. And I'll show you these later when I've done the demo. And we've got our lovely, ever so popular vintage colorway over here. This one has been our top seller so far, and you can tell why. It's just the most gorgeous colorway on that. So the block that we're doing today, let me show you first of all what we're going to get as your kit. So whichever colorway you order this in, you're going to get the same one. So you're going to get the pattern, and if you order the blue colorway, this is what you're going to end up getting on that. You're going to get the fabric panel and the pattern. The pattern is very concise and it shows you exactly how to do it. And if you've missed anything on the pattern, don't worry, you can catch us on YouTube and be able to catch up on everything that we've done on that. So this is the fabric panel you're getting for the blue. You can tell 55 inches wide, you are going to have so much fabric left over, and it's great. Really, really good. Only thing to be aware of on each of these fabrics, it doesn't matter whether you're buying your Brights colorway, blue colorway, or vintage colorway, it does not matter. They are numbered the same way. But people who've done this before, pay attention. We have got a different way that this has happened this week. Usually we go fabric 1, 3, and 2. Not this week. Pay attention. We've gone fabric 1. So you can see there's fabric 1. And then fabric 2, fabric 3, and fabric 4. Because this week we need more of fabric 2 than we do of fabric 3. So in previous weeks, number 3 has been here and number 2's been down here. but not this week. Number 3 is down here and number 2 is there. So if you're used to doing these or you're doing them block on block, that's where there's a slight difference on it. So don't worry. Just make sure that you keep cutting off the fabric 1, 2, and 3 and 4 labels and keep sticking them to your instructions, and make sure you follow that through the whole pattern, because it'll make your life a lot easier without having to unpick things. Nobody likes that. So that's our fabulous blue colorway. We've got our wonderful brights colorway as well. Actually, I'll do brights next because I'm going to demo in the brights. Our vintage colorway is so special. Again, you're going to get this wonderful set of instructions. You're going to get this vintage pattern, vintage colorway fabric panel as well. And let me show you what the vintage one looks like. And again, you get so much fabric. This is such a lovely colorway, this, it really is. Again, the fabrics have been moved around this week, so you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4 rather than 1, 3, 2, and 4. So just bear that in mind while you're cutting everything out. So that's our vintage colorway. And finally, we've got our brights colorway. And no matter which colorway you order, you're going to get the same fabric panel just with the colorway that you've ordered and the set of instructions for $11.99. Whoops, I got that upside down. And there we go. So this is the one I'm going to demo with you, so I'm not going to fold that back up. And let me show you the block that we're making this week. So to keep it in the same order that we're doing, we've got our blue colorway there. Now don't get scared, I know it's half square triangles, but I promise they're easier than you think they are. Then we've got our vintage colorway there. And finally we've got our brights colorway. Check I got that the right way around. Now if anybody wants to know where this goes on the quilt, the way I've suggested it goes is just there. Hopefully you can see that through my arm. So there you go, that's where the block is going to fit into the quilt. And that's the same position all the way around on all the quilts, no matter which colorway you go. That's the way it's going to look. So how are we making this, I hear you all asking. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our colors. Now normally I use a pair of scissors for this, but I'm going to change it up this week and I'm going to show you how to do it with a rotary cutter. A little bit quicker. So the very first thing I do, because the selvage has my name on it, and it's a very, very proud moment for me to be able to have my name on a selvage. I'm going to pull that to one side. I separate my colours. I like having my fabric separated. This is what works for me. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the way you want to do it. It's just what works for me. So I'm separating fabrics 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as I've said before, I went a bit funny there. Now the great thing is when you have cut this incorrectly like I just did, you can see I veered off at the end. You've got tons of fabric, so don't worry, you're not going to miss out. You've got more than enough to make the block. So then I'm going to take off my fabric number 1, my label for fabric number 1, and I keep that. And I'm going to cut off fabric number 2 as well. And fabric number 3. I'm just cleaning these edges up to go from there. Right. Now, on the edge here, you can see I've got a tiny little slither of yellow on the edge there. Please don't worry. If you have that in your fabric, it is absolutely not a problem in the slightest, because all of that will be hidden in your 1/4" seam. So as long as whatever excess you've got of the fabric before it, or the white, or whatever way you've done it, it doesn't matter. As long as it's less than 1/4 inch, you will be absolutely fine. It won't even show, nobody's going to see it at all, as long as it's less than 1/4 inch. If you've gone more than 1/4 inch, then we just recut, and that's why we've given you more fabric in case there's an odd little mistake along the way. So these are such amazingly long pieces here. So I'm just going to do that to get that off. Right. because I like having my fabric pieces separate for this to be able to then, I find it easier cutting them that way. If you don't have to cut these apart at all. You do what's best for you. There we go. So now I've gone past the fabric 3 line. So again, I'm just going to trim off where it says fabric 4, and I'm trimming that at the join between 3 and 4 as well. So my fabric 3, for the want of a better word, is now free. And then I'm just going to carry this on along the way. Because what I love about our social media platforms is any questions that you have, you've been able to ask online. So if I've seen any questions through the week that I think are really good, or that I need to just make it a bit easier for everybody to see how they do it. Somebody asked, how do you actually cut these up with a rotary cutter? So I've now gone through, and hopefully you will now see, I've been able to show you how to cut them up. So the rotary cutter I use usually is the Millwood one. It's a really great product. It's got a fabulous little guard on it as well. And I think it's $8.99. Oh gosh, that's very clever. You've got it on the screen already, as if by magic. So there we go. I'm just trimming all these off. And almost there. Right. And check everything's clear, almost done. And then, oh, that one's completely free. So fabrics 1 and fabrics 3 are now completely free of any other fabrics. So I can put those to one side. And I'm just going to trim, I'm going to turn these because it's not really safe to be cutting that way, even though it's quicker. Always cut away from you. Doesn't matter how much time you save. Right, so almost, sorry. So the ruler I'm using here is the fabulous Creative Grids Collection 24-inch by 6.5-inch ruler there. So now I need to talk to you about half square triangles. You will see in my pattern under the notes section, I'm telling you to cut I've given you the size that you should be cutting it at in the cutting guide, but not all of us are very comfortable with half square triangles. Even myself, I don't find myself feeling very comfortable with half square triangles. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting a larger half square triangle, a larger square, and then I'm trimming down. I just find that that's easier. It makes me feel confident knowing that I've got that little bit extra wiggle room. If my 1/4 inch isn't quite right, I feel a little bit more comfortable having that little extra bit of wiggle room in case I make a mistake. So I'm cutting my squares. I know it's the size is in your pattern. So if you want to cut something smaller, if you want to cut something bigger, that's fine. If you feel confident and you want to cut it to the size, you must do what works for you. But I'm cutting mine slightly larger so that way I have enough wiggle room in case I make a mistake. Because I've sewn with myself for long enough, I know I need that little bit of wiggle room, just in case. Right, so fabric 4, I need 2 squares. 2 squares, 4 squares and 8 squares. So I need 2 squares of that one. Right, so I'm going to cut these together. Right, so I need 2 squares of each of these. Just double checking. Yes. Triple check. Always make sure you triple check that everything's working fine. And again, I'm cutting mine a lot bigger than you need it to be, just in case. Now with the first one that I cut, so you can see now I'm cutting these at 5 1/4 because I want to be cautious. That is not the size you should be cutting them. If you're a confident sewer, you sew how you like, and this is where my rotary cutting mat comes in an absolute treat because you are not maneuvering your fabric around. Excuse my head being in your shot there. Right, so first thing I'm doing is I've now trimmed that edge, and now I've trimmed that edge. I'm going to rotate my cutting mat around, and I'm going to cut that into a 5 1/4 inch square. Now, once I've got them in squares, I'm now going to cut this across the long diagonal. And I'm going to make myself some triangles. Right, so I separate these colours as I go. Now this was the last one that I cut as well, so I know I cut along that line over here, but I know as well that this is larger than it needs to be. So I know that that line is completely straight. And the good thing is that because you're cutting this slightly larger, if you are out a little bit, it doesn't really matter because we're going to trim these up at the end. So you have got that little extra safety net of wiggle room to be able to make this very comfortably. Right, so we've now trimmed two sides, that one and that one. I'm now going to line up my fabulous Creative Grids 8 1/2 inch ruler here. And you can see I've lined up the 5 1/4 there, but I haven't lined up 5 1/4 there. That's why we always double, triple check. 5 1/4, 5 1/4. There we go. And that line is completely square already. And then I rotate that round, and I'm going to make my triangles. Right, and again, I'm going to put these in my colorway, and I'm putting them in the order that they need to be. So that's color 3, color 4, color 4 I need 4, color 3 I need 4, there we go. So color 2 and color 1. So I need 4 of color 2. So if you are now confident doing this, fold your fabric on top. Because I need 4 of these squares, I'm going to lay these on top of each other. And because this is a 12-inch mat, I should be able to cut these relatively easily. Now my first one I'm cutting at 5 1/2 wide, just so that I can trim that line up. Once I've done that, I'm going to slightly move that along so you can see I've just got a little bit of a gap. And then that one I know is a straight line, and I'm going to line that up at 5 1/4. And then I'm going to take that away, and I'm finished cutting that. So this is how much fabric you'll have left over as well. So you can see just on the fabric 2, that's how much you've got left over. So if you do make a mistake, and that's fabric 3 and that's fabric 4, so if you do make a mistake, don't worry, you've got enough fabric to keep you going there. So I know that my first one was cut at 5 1/4. I'm going to rotate this round, line it up at 5 1/4 as well, and trim up that line there. Great. And then over here, I'm going to make that 5 1/4. Now, because my ruler's not quite long enough to go over both of them, I'm going to line these up correctly. So what I've done is I've lined the bottom of my ruler up. I've lined the bottom of my ruler up there, and I've lined the bottom of my fabric up with the lines on there to make sure I've got this straight. And then I'm cutting it dead end there. So I know that that's completely straight because I've just cut that. These two lines are completely straight, so I've got a 5 1/4 inch square there very comfortably. So I'm going to line my 5 1/4 up here with the ruler. I'm lining the bottom up there and the top up there, just trying to make sure that I've got 4 5 1/4 inch squares, just nice and comfortably to make sure that they're right. And because I feel confident with cutting with multiple layers, I'm putting those on top of each other. You don't need to put these on top of each other. You can cut them out one at a time. There is no rush. No one's racing. It's to have fun and make sure you enjoy the process. That's all this is. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut across the long diagonal of my 4 triangles of fabric, my 4 squares of fabric number 2, and there are 4, and there are 4. So that's my fabric number 2. I needed 8 of those. And then last but certainly not least, I am now going to be doing, I need 8 squares of my fabric number 1. Now, I am very confident with my cutting. If you don't feel confident cutting 4 in one time, please don't. You do not need to. There is no rush on this. Right. So we've had a question in. Somebody has asked, what's that person's name? So it's from Hayley. Hello, Hayley. Wanted to ask, if you are a beginner, should you cut your squares larger and then trim them down? I'm not a beginner. I feel I'm quite a confident beginner, intermediary, but I cut mine bigger and I cut down. I always have and I always will, simply because I would far rather use a little bit more fabric by making sure that my triangle was accurate than have to unpick or redo. So I'd rather cut my square a bit bigger and trim down to make sure I get the most accurate half square triangle that I can possibly get. That's my tip on it. You can do it how it works best for you. You have got the measurement on being able to do this without trimming down, but it does mean that if you do trim down, all of your blocks are exactly the same size, and it's just, I feel, a bit more of a comfortable process because I've got that little safety net by cutting something a little bit larger and then trimming it down. Right, so that's my first 4 squares in the fabric number 1, and I'm going to cut that across. So now I've got 8 triangles, but again, don't cut these multiple layers if you're not confident. Please don't. I don't want you hurting yourself or feeling uncomfortable or anxious in any way. There is no problem with cutting these out as 1 triangle at a time, 1 square at a time, and just making it work best for you. And then this is my last little trim, 5 1/4. And across the long diagonal. So that is my cutting all done for this block. Well, for now. When you've got your rotating cutting mat, do not move this. You're going to need it a lot. So now I'm going to lay out, you all know I love to lay out my designs before I start sewing them, simply because if you've made a mistake, now's the time to figure it out. And then I'm going to have that one there, oops, that one there, and that one there. So pink is not pink in this one, I keep remembering that. Because what we did when we were trying to design this pattern and we were writing the pattern, we wanted to be able to create a pattern that everybody could use, no matter what colorway they chose, because I think it would have been an absolute administrative nightmare trying to write these in every single colorway. So we wanted to find an easy way for everybody to be able to take part and have the same pattern and be able to take part with each pattern being the same. So that's why we've chosen a different colorway than what we've actually produced, because we don't have a colorway with that production. And we think it's working well. We've had some great feedback on it, and we have been very lucky because we've managed to get so many of you involved in this project, which I'm very, very excited about, because it's my very first block of the week with Sewing Street. And we even had a suggestion that even after lockdown, maybe we should carry it on. And I'm up for that. So now I have my fabric number 2. This is fabric 2. So that one goes there. And don't worry, even I have to take a moment and check back to my fabric key to make sure. I don't know why I'm checking this. I can just check the quilt behind me. I'm just thinking, I'm looking the colours up. They're there. I can just do that. There we go. And within 30 seconds, this should now make more sense to you. So that is our block before we've all sewn it all together. So we've now cut everything out perfectly, and we're now ready to do chain piecing. So how you do this is your call entirely. You are more than welcome to do it this way, which you will take 2 triangles, you put them on top of each other. Now, this is where your 1/4 inch and scant 1/4 inch comes in very, very important. You're going to be lining your fabric up just a few hairs in from where you would normally have your 1/4 inch, just to make sure that when it's a 1/4 inch, once you've folded the fabric, it is actually a 1/4 inch when it's finished. Over here you can see I am not even touching the fabric. I'm using the fabulous Elna 560 Elegance machine, Experience machine. And you can see I'm not even touching it. All I'm doing is I'm guiding the fabric through and letting it run. This has got a fabulous thread trimmer as well. And then once you've sewn it, now I prefer to press my seams open. So you can see all I'm doing is I'm gently pressing my fingers down on that. I'm just going to plug my iron in to get this ready. I brought out the big guns today and brought the big iron. And again, this June Taylor cutting board is fabulous for this. So all I'm doing there is I'm pressing that down. I am not moving the fabric in any way. I'm not manipulating it, just pressing it down because everything is on the bias. Okay, so once I've pressed that down, I get my iron and I hold my iron down. You can tell I'm pressing, I'm not ironing. I still don't know how to iron, my lovely husband. That's it. That's all I know how to do. Oh, goody. Someone's used Bondaweb. Right. Okay. Do we have the prim? So what I'm doing there, all I've done is I've now stitched on that line and I've sewn that together. So the next thing I'm going to do is when you've got this fabulous ruler here, you've got this wonderful 45-degree line down the middle. That line, you are now going to line up to your seam. So you can see if you slide my seam across, you'll be able to see that I'm doing, I'm lining everything up there. And once I've got my 45-degree line on the seam, you are going to cut this to the size that's in the pattern. You'll be able to see in the pattern how we do that. Thank you very much. Ugh, trying to do that from a distance. Thank you, sir. Right. So you've got your triangle that we've now put together there. You're going to line this seam line there up against your fabric there. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut this so that you're taking fabric off all sides. You're not just doing it on 2 sides and then lining it up, because you can see there's a little bit of a wobble in the fabric all the way around. So you line that up perfectly. And this is where this rotating cutting mat comes in so perfectly with this. And then you rotate your cutting mat and the fabric hasn't moved, and then you line this up again to the size that it needs to be, and you're lining up not only your seam line there, but you're also lining up the sides that you need it to be on the sides. Line that up there. Now this is where you do want to try and be as accurate as possible. Excuse my head being in your way. Just want to make sure I get the right measurements on that and that you're getting it completely as square as you can be. Right, so we now have a correct size half-square triangle. You've made 1, now go make 15 more. That's it, that's all you're doing. All the way through the quilt, you're going to make exactly the same thing. So I'll carry on doing this to show you, because that was just if you wanted to do the measurement on your own. If you wanted to chain piece it, what I'm going to do here is show you how you would chain piece, because I think chain piecing is the best way of doing this. It's quite weird sewing standing up. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing the bright colourway on this. We've got 3 different colourways that we're doing this in. We've got the blue colourway as well. That's the quilt that will be, I'll show you all the different quilts once they're finished. So if you're just joining us today for the first time and you haven't seen the Block of the Week programme before, you will be able to go back and you've got every single block that we've made so far available on the website already. So you'll just need to search Block of the Week, and you'll be able to get all 5 blocks of today if you want to. If you haven't joined in yet and you'd like to, you'll be able to get all 5 blocks today, all on the website. So now I've done my chain piecing, and what chain piecing means is each time I just keep the square, they're not squares yet, the triangles going through the pieces, through the machine, and you just keep sewing them all the way along. And then once you've sewn them all along, again, you're not pressing, you're not stretching this, you're not stretching the bias in any way, because if you do anything there, you're going to end up distorting that center line, and you'll end up with a little bit of a wiggle in your triangle, in your half square triangle, which you don't want. So there you go. I'm just gently pressing those open, and although I turned the iron on with the wall, I didn't turn it on in the little buttons on the side. So I've got a little bit of time now to just finger press these open. Now, many of you do press your seams to one side. I prefer pressing my seams open simply because I think it gives you a flatter block. You can press it to the left, you can press it to the right, you can press it to the dark, the light. It's your quilt. You do what's best for you. The only thing I would say to you is if you are doing a block of the week, it's your first time of doing it, or even if it's not, try something different. If you've never pressed your seams to the dark side, press it to the dark side for one of these blocks and see if you prefer it that way. It's just a different way of doing things. So here again, you can see my little light hasn't gone off, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. All I'm doing is I'm pressing down on the fabric. I'm not moving my iron around. Again, I'm just pressing down. I'm not moving around. That's why we call it pressing, not ironing, because you're literally just holding the fabric down to make sure that everything's nice and flat. And there we go. So I've now pressed down my seams on 3 of those. And now I'm going to trim these down again. And you can tell then when you're going through this, you can check that you've got these in the correct order. Nope, I haven't. That goes there, and that goes there. I think it's really important when you're putting these together to make sure you're keeping your lines in order. And then I'm going to trim these up as I go. So again, just like I did with the fabric number 4 and fabric number 1 on the last time, I'm lining this line up with my central seam that I've sewn. I'm lining that up, and I'm then squaring up. So in your block, if you can see that you have got a wiggle in the middle, I would try and line up as much of that line as you can to be able to get the straightest line as you can along there. So if you do have a wiggle, don't worry, your block will still come out lovely. Just try and get it as straight as you can along the way there. So now once you've created your 2 sides there that are completely square, because you can tell you've just cut them, I then rotate my mat, and again I line that seam line up, and I line this up to the size that it's got to be. Excuse my head in your way again. I keep doing that, but I want to make sure I get it as accurate as possible, and I haven't got it the right size. You'll notice that if your seam line is not right, you will actually be able to tell if you haven't got your measurements right, because your seam line won't be on a seam anymore, which is where you'll realize you've done something silly and got it the wrong size. So there we go. You've now done your second block, your second triangle, and now we do our third. Whoops. And this does take a little bit longer, but you can tell you're going to have perfectly square blocks to sew together, and they'll all be the same size, so you should have the most accurate block possible. to sew together to have your quilt be the correct size. And I've just realized I used my ruler in the wrong way there. But there we go, so that's fine. And then the last one for this row. So, and then the last little bit on this, you're lining your central seam up again. You're lining up the size you need the block to be, and then you trim your last two sides. Right, so now we've done 4 of these. I'm going to show you what the next step is. So we've now sewn 4 of those together. We've now trimmed 4 of these together. So when you're sewing these together, you're going to take these 2, and all you're going to do is you're going to flop them over. I always try and keep them this way and then fold them on top of each other, and I know I'm sewing on that line because the number of times I've flopped them over, picked them up, gone to the machine and turned them around, and I've sewn them the wrong way. So then what I do is I do 2 stitches, I've got my needle down, and I fold it back to check that they're going the right way, and I double check back to the picture. It's really important because it's only 2 stitches to unpick at that point, whereas if you don't check, you go the whole way along, and then you're like, rats, I've done it wrong. Now again, here is where a scant 1/4 inch is going to make your life a lot easier to be able to make sure that everything lines up. So then again, exactly the same thing, picking those up in the order that they're going, flopping that on, and I know I'm sewing on this edge here. Line everything up nicely. You're doing your scant 1/4 inch again. I do 1 or 2 stitches, fold that back to check they're going in the same direction. They are. I'm happy with that. And there we go. Right. So now I know that that bit goes there, and that bit goes there. I'm now going to sew these 2 together. So I've just sewn that line there, and I'm going to sew that line there. So I'm sewing those 2 together. So you're going to make 4 of those in the order to make the block. Okay, and again, I'm pressing my seams open in this process. And if you've just seen, it hasn't taken me very long to cut this block out. I've sewn 1/4 of the block together, and how long are we in? 37 minutes in, and that's even with me blurbing as well. So it's not going to take a very long process. I'm going to do 1 more of these strips so that I can then show you how you're piecing these together row by row, because I think that's really important to show you where you're trying to get your points to meet and make sure you get as accurate a block as you can. So there we go, that's our first row there. Now I'm going to chain piece these because it's quicker. And again, this is where you can do them as chain piecing or you can do them individually. It's entirely up to you. Oh, now, this is now, we all have that moment where your machine eats your fabric. It happens. So I'm going to now create what I like to call a donkey for the end and the beginning. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's what I call it. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a leader fabric, and what happens is you've got a fabric on there, so these tiny little points, when they go through the machine, they're not going to get sucked down into the machine. You're going to put those little end bits on the edge of your leader, and that way then your fabric won't get pulled into your machine. There you go, so that's eaten it up nicely there. And the reason you have 2 of them is that when you sew on your quilt and when you sew off your quilt, you then have the leader at the beginning, which I've just put on. When I've chained all 4 of these together, I'll have another an ender, if you like, and you leave the ender in your machine with your needle down, and it works then when you start again as your ender. And all I've done is the fabric that I've already had laying out over here, I've just pulled them out as they came along. And there we go. And I need a little pair of scissors, which I've got here. Right. So that's what your little leader is there, and then you've got your ender that's on there at the moment. So when you come back to use that, you'll then have that there. So now again, just like we've done before, I'm going to press these open. I'm just guiding my iron on top of it. I'm not moving the fabric, I'm just pressing down on it. You can see, there you go. Just guiding the fabric open with my finger and then pressing down with the iron. There we go. And then the last one. Brilliant. So now we square the blocks up again, but before I square them all up, I want to make sure I've got them all in the right place. So I now put these all back in the place that they're meant to be. And as I trim them down, I'm going to put them back in that place again. I'm going to move my mat over a little bit, just that I can trim over here. So picking that up, lining up my central line on my 45-degree line, trimming off that end and that end, and lining that up on the size it needs to be and on the central line. Oops. And then when I've cut it and trimmed it, I put it back in the area there. When I say the area, I mean where it goes in the block. Oh, I did my cardinal sin. I rotated it rather than the mat. We all do it. Right, so I've lined that all up. Again, I'm doing this quite quickly, obviously, because I'm doing it it's almost like a timed race to make sure I can show you all. You take your time, be careful, don't rush it. There is no race. You just got to enjoy it and have fun with it. And make sure you post pictures on our social media. We've got Sewing Street TV as our channel run Facebook page. And we've got our Facebook fans page, which is great. And we've got Instagram as well, which is @SewingStreet. So there are many ways to stay in touch and share your makes that you're doing with us. And as we've been asked before, if I'm a beginner, do I need to do it this way? You can tell, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing half square triangles and how long you've been sewing for, the more square your block is and the more accurate your square is, the better this will be for you. And you can tell, I don't know how long everybody's been sewing, but those are identical in size. and you can tell that they're going to go together a lot better than if you just had a little bit of you know, if your 1/4 inch is slightly out, your block wouldn't be square, and you would have potentially, I'm not saying I'm going to hit all my points anyway, but it's just an easier way of making sure that it actually is doing everything possible to make sure that your points are as accurate as they can be. I'm taking my leaders and my donkey off because I don't need a donkey at this point. So that's my first one. That's my second one, and all of the details on how you sew these together are in the pattern, so don't worry if you've missed it while I'm doing it. And I line this back up to check that I've got them sewn together correctly. And I do, and all your triangles are meant to go in the same direction as well. But just make sure, because even the first time I did this block, I had them all going in the same direction, but I had them upside down. So it was still a beautiful block, but it was just the wrong way around. And it is possible to do that, so make sure you lay everything out, check it back to the pattern, and you'll be able to see what I mean about getting it upside down. Because we don't want that. And then I'm going to press these open. Now I think that that's been relatively easy. Hopefully not too headache-inducing. You're going to sew your triangles together into squares, so you're creating half-square triangles. You're then trimming your half-square triangles to the size that's in the pattern, and then you're just sewing these into groups of 4. And then the groups of 4 are going to be sewn together into strips, and that is the whole pattern. And you follow the instructions as to which one you sew into which order. I've just done the demo slightly differently for the pattern just to make sure that I could teach it to you and show you the top things that are, because the way I suggest in the pattern to do it is that you sew all the colours together to make X number of things, but I've just done it slightly differently in the order here because I wanted to show you this and to make sure that we got this sorted. So at the point you are now going to sew these together, what is the important bit that you need to sew to make sure that you're getting it right? So we have got a point there and we have a point there. And we're going to want to make sure that that point there exactly meets that point there. No pressure for me on live telly at all. And that point there meets that point there. And that point there meets that point there. Now, first of all, you've got to just accept, if you hit the point, well done, you're amazing. If you don't hit the point, well done, you're still amazing. You've tried something, you didn't get the point, no one's going to be upset. It's just, I know we are so critical about our own work. Don't worry about it. If you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. Just go and have fun. So I'm now going to do the unthinkable thing. I am using 3 pins to make this work. So my top way of trying to get it right is, you can now see by pressing your seams open, so you're going to be sewing these 2 together. I'm going to start by folding them on top of each other, and I'm going to start with the one at the back, simply because it's easier. And I'm going to put my pin into the point where the white and the blue fabric meet. So you can see my pin there, and you can see that that's where they meet, okay? Then equally, I'm now going to put this pin on the next row underneath it, where the white and the blue meet, okay? So that's where, why are you not going through? Come on, there we go. So that, in theory, is the perfect place on that side and on that side for your point to be, okay? Then I'm going to line up the next one, exactly the same thing. Where the yellow and the white meet, I'm pushing my pin through there, and you can see that that's worked perfectly there. And I'm going to do exactly the same on the one underneath. Push that through, and you can see, oh, I haven't done it right. And that's why you always check the front and the back, because you want it coming through on the actual seam, not above. So you can see there, it's come through exactly on the seam, not above it, okay? And then thirdly, I'm going to do exactly the same thing over here with the pink. The pink will probably be easier to see because it's higher contrast than the yellow. And then I'm lining that up there so I know. So in theory, that is where your pins, if you're able to stitch through the pins, or where the pins are, that is going to be where your points are going to meet perfectly. So how do we put those points together? So first thing is I'm going to put that there, and I need when I hold it like that, I need my pin not only to be horizontal to the table, but I need the pin to be also horizontal to the line that we're sewing on. So it takes a little bit of maneuvering, but you get your pin in a straight line. So it's straight with the table and it's straight with the fabric. I then hold that there as tight as I can possibly hold it. So here I'm squeezing as tight as I can possibly do. And you can see now when I move my pin, my fabric's not moving. And then with the contortion of your fingers, I rotate the bottom piece of the fabric down so that when I push the pin through, it's coming through on the same place on both sides, and it is. Okay, so that's where that one's going to be. And again, exactly the same thing here. I'm holding this nice and firm on this side when the pin is horizontal and completely straight. I'm pushing that through. Oh, and I can see on this side it hasn't worked, but on that side it has. There we go. And on that side it's a 6. And this takes a little bit of time and you get it right. There we go. Perfect. Happy with that. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your pin through in the same place on both sides so that you know you've got your fabric as close to straight as you can possibly get it, whilst holding that there. And it takes a bit of practice, and if you don't get it right, it doesn't matter, but that is how you do get it right. So when I'm sewing along, you can see that that is the point where I want, if I hit that point where the pin's going through, I'm going to nail that point, it's going to be perfect. I'm going to nail that point, it'll be perfect. And on this one, I'll nail it. Now, I've accepted I'm not going to hit them all because it's live telly and what could possibly go wrong. As long as I don't set fire to the set, I think I'm doing well. So there we go, we're off. Do not sew over your pins, please, it's dangerous, I don't like it. So I line that up, needle is down, and hopefully I'm going to get this. Oh, there we go. And there we go. Oh, I think I got that one. Hopefully I got that one, fingers crossed. Right. And now I'm going to press these before I look at them. And if you press your seams open, it's at this point you know that you've got it right or not. And we're just going to accept, if you didn't, it's still okay. You're still amazing. I'm saying that mainly for myself, not for you. Because, let's see how we go there. Now I do find pressing these longer seams open is a little bit harder. Oh. Might have done that one. It is a little bit harder, but it does, just taking that little bit of extra time, it just means that your block is a lot flatter when you send it to your, either you do it yourself or you send it to your long armour, and they will thank you for it. Oh, I don't want to get too excited because I'm going to reveal to all at the same time as me seeing it. So now, this is probably where Joe's going to zoom in as far as he possibly can to see how out I am. Right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, I'm happy with that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So you can see here, that was almost perfect. That one is spot on, and that one's pretty good as well. So I'm very happy with that. But please, I promise you, don't get upset if you've got it wrong. Now, if you have done it and you want to get it right, you don't need to unpick the whole block. So let's pick that middle block there, because that is literally one hair out, okay? What I'm going to do, you can see I'm literally one hair out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back. I'm going to unpick. So I'm going an inch this way and an inch that way. That's all I'm unpicking. I'm not picking any more than that. So you can see I'm just doing every second thread, which was a top tip I learned from the wonderful Jenny Raymond. And there we go. Sorry, I have to get this closer to my eyes so I can actually see it. Come on. So all I'm doing is I'm unpicking every second thread, and I'm going about an inch either way from it. Right, so you can see I've just created that little hole there. So all I'm doing now is I know that I nailed it on this side, because that did go through there. And then I'm just going to put my pin in again and line that down. So why that missed is probably when I put it together, I didn't hold that as firmly as I needed to. Okay, so I've only unpicked an inch on either side here, so I'll just undo the thread as far as I've done it. Right, so all I'm going to do is this is where my thread ends and that's where my thread ends. I'm going to go about ½ an inch on that side. So you don't need to unpick your whole block, you're just unpicking that little bit in order to make sure that you can catch that middle seam. I've probably made it worse now, but there we go. Ah, there we go. So there you go. You can see I've now nailed that one as well. And that's how you do it, that you can unpick just an inch on either side, reposition that and go. And it's not going to cause a wobble on anything else. So I know that's only been half the demo, but you can see exactly what you're doing. I've shown you the top way of doing each and every one of them. It's a really nice block to do. Just going to move this all over here. I'm not the tidiest of sewers, sorry. So there we go. You're going to sew exactly the same way as I've done that for the top one there. So this is half of block 5, and that will fit into your quilt just there. Let me show you the other colorways that we've got as well. So we are going to be making, this is the, just going to slide that out the way. This is the block that we're making for today. This is block 5 in our Brights colorway. You're going to get the instructions somewhere. You're going to get the instructions in order how to do this, and you're going to get your fabric panel in order to how to do that as well. So that will be your the block that we're making today in the Brights colorway. If you're looking at the vintage colorway here, this is block 5 on what your vintage colorway is going to look like, and you'll get these fabulous instructions in order to be able to make that as well. And finally, you're going to do our blue colorway. You've got exactly the same thing here in the blue colorway, and you're going to be doing it with the same set of instructions, and you'll be able to do it from there. But if you're just joining us now for the first time today and you haven't bought any of our blocks before, sorry? If you haven't done any of our blocks before, let me show you what the previous blocks look like. So we're going to do number 4 first. I'm just going to move these out of the way. I am sorry I don't get this as tidily as I want to. And again, every Friday at 9 AM is me doing the demos on how to do the blocks of the week. So if you have missed anything or you've not joined in yet, where have you been? You can easily catch up on our YouTube channel, finding all the blocks that you haven't seen yet. And then these are the different patterns that you're getting. So we're going to start with block 4. This was from last week. And we're going to start with what colourway first? We're going to do the blue colourway. So this is the block that you're going to get for the blue colourway. And then we're going to do our vintage colourway, which is this one here. And with these, you're also getting your fabulous set of instructions to make each one of these, and a whole load of fabric left over at the end in order to use for other projects, or if you find later on you want to redo something, you've always got that thing. So you've also then got the Brights colourway, which is the quilt behind me here, and that is also, you've got your set of instructions to go with that for block 4. And then if you're going back as well, then we've got block 3 as well. So we've got our blue colourway here for the block 3. I never seem to get this in the right space, and it always seems to be a bit short there. So that's our block 3 for blue, and you're going to get the set of instructions that go with it as well. So you get these instructions for each one of these different colourways. The Brights colourway is here. And if you're wanting to see where this fits in on the quilt here, that's our middle block just there. Or not middle, but it's the middle one on your screen there. That's our Brights colourway there. And then we've got our vintage colourway over here. And again, with that one, you're going to get the wonderful pattern that goes with it as well, and enough of the panel to easily make that block. Then we've got block 2 as well. So you get the fabulous set of instructions and then the panel to make this block. And then we've got our Brights colourway as well. And the set of instructions you'll get with each one of them. And then we've got the vintage colourway as well, which vintage is turning out to be our most popular colourway with everybody, followed closely by our blue, and followed closely by our Brights. There's been a really good response to these. It's been great. And then our very first block in the whole series. So again, if you've missed any of these tutorials, they are all available on the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to get them from there. We'll start off with our blue colourway here as well. And you'll get the fabulous set of instructions that go with it with each one of these blocks. You've got the Brights colourway as well. And if I turn it like, if I turn it like that, and you'll be able to see it in the quilt behind me, just there. So there you go. So that's our Brights colourway. And lastly, our vintage colourway there. And now those are the blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me show you what the finished quilt actually looks like. I'm going to start by showing you the blue one, and I put something nice and heavy on it so it doesn't fall over. Now last week when I did this, I flicked it so hard it flew across the room, so I'm going to hang on to it a little tighter today. Oh, I need to just disconnect that iron, sorry. So this is our blue colourway, and you can just tell the blocks work so well in this. And in previous weeks, we have zoomed in on all the colours that we've got in the fabric ranges. I think that was in weeks 3 and 4. So do check back on our previous videos to be able to see exactly what the colours look like on it. But what I love about this quilt is I think it's worked very, very well with the layout that I've chosen. However, this quilt is completely non-directional. So you can tell that if you have it like that, or whether you have it like this, it's not going to matter because the quilt just flows all the different angles. It just works so perfectly from all different angles. So this is, that's our blue colourway there. Now, am I going to be able to put this on there without it falling off? Let's see. Stay. And then we've got our Brights colourway here as well. And I'm just going to show you the bottom of the screen there. You can see the other 3 blocks that you couldn't see from the top. It's a really lovely colourway as well. But our most popular star of the show, for the want of a better word, is our vintage colourway. And there we go. Oh. And again, you can tell just how beautiful these colours are. You can tell why it's the most popular colourway that we've had. Really, really special. And again, the quilt blocks, the quilt works perfectly in every single direction. It's completely non-directional. You can put the blocks however you choose. There's no right or wrong. It's your quilt. And these are exclusive to Sewing Street, these fabrics. So it doesn't matter at what point you do want to join the process. We will always have the blocks. We will always have the colorways for you. And the patterns are available when you buy the panel. So it's a lovely way of being able to get involved in that sense of community. Again, please stay. Thank you. Please join in on our Facebook page and our social media. We love seeing what you've done. If you've got any questions or queries or suggestions, please pop them on there as well, because I do read them every week just to make sure that I'm seeing exactly what's needed and where you are. And that is our fabulous block of the week. This is our 5th week that we've been doing it, 7 more to go, but then we've got our last, on our 8th week after that, we will be able to do our borders and sashings and things like that as well, which is great. That's the 13th show on our Block of the Week series. And we're going to be back in a few minutes. We've got a fabulous tools hour coming with, so we're just going to reset the set, and thank you so much for being with me.
Hello there, I'm Debbie Shaw, and I would love you to join me on the first Monday of every single month for Sewing Street Surgery. Now, this is a dedicated hour where I answer your questions, and that could be questions about techniques, it could be questions about tools, it could be questions about new products, or maybe something that you've seen that you just don't understand. There's a lot of questions about tensions on sewing machines, and there's a lot of questions about working with different weights of fabrics. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask me, the easiest way to bring a question over to us is to go to our Facebook page and post your question on there. I will collate all of those questions throughout the week. If we need any new products for you, or if we need any new demonstrations, those will all be worked on leading up to that first Monday of the month. So do join me, Debbie Shaw, on Sewing Street Surgery on the first Monday. Hi, I'm Debbie Shaw from Sewing Street, and these are my 5 top tips for successful sewing. So, number 1, always use a good quality thread. A good quality thread will keep your seams stronger and also help to prevent lint building up inside your sewing machine. Tip number 2, if your project isn't going quite according to plan, put it down, walk away from it, come back again the next day, and you'll probably find that things don't seem half as bad as they did. My tip number 3, never throw away your sewing machine manual. Always keep it to hand, because you're going to find hints and tips, techniques and troubleshooting in that manual. You'll miss it if you lose it. My tip number 4 is to read your pattern instructions before you even cut out your fabric. Different manufacturers of patterns will give you different instructions, different ways of constructing your garments and different seam allowances. So to have a successful garment, you need to follow the instructions precisely. And then tip number 5 is don't give up. Every professional sewer sewed their first seam. Every professional quilter quilted their first quilt. Every professional quilter sewed their first line of wonky stitches and had to get out the quick unpick. That's no different to you. So I hope you find these useful. If you want more hints and tips, then why not go to Sewing Street on channel 74 on Freeview, on Sky 670, and of course we have a YouTube channel where you can catch up on previous demonstrations. We'll see you soon.
Shopping with us couldn't be easier. If you want to shop online, then you can head to our website, www.sewingstreet.com. It will redirect you to our sister channel Jewellery Makers landing page. Don't worry, you haven't gone to the wrong place. We're simply using their website temporarily while we're building our own web shop. Scroll down past the Watch Live part and you'll see all of the products that you will have seen on air on today's live show. You can also shop our catalogue by clicking a category, clicking a product to view closer and adding it to your basket. Once you're ready to check out, you will need to create an account, which is absolutely free to do so, but it will mean that you can check out on as many orders as you want throughout the day with still only paying 1 postage and packaging. If you'd prefer to speak to somebody in our UK-based customer service team, then you can do so via the free telephone line number 0800 001 4433. They will not only help you create an account, but will also help you with any of your online shopping.
Hello and welcome. We love hearing from you, and we really hope that you can follow us on our social media platforms. We've got Instagram, which is at Sewing Street. We have Facebook. We've got two Facebook pages. One is the Sewing Street TV page, and the other one is Sewing Street Fans. All three of these are monitored all the time by our wonderful team, and if you want to message us on air, drop us a line on either of those three and we'll definitely be able to answer your questions that you may have. If you post on the actual wall, we can perhaps answer there. Otherwise, message us as well. That works really, really well. Thank you so much for being involved, and it's only because of this community that we're able to bring you all these different diverse products and to be able to answer your questions that you may have. Another way you can stay in touch with us is by signing up to our newsletter. These newsletters are sent out to you very regularly, and they include not only our guest profiles of upcoming guests, but also amazing shows that we've got coming up for you. And if you want to look at the amazing products before everybody else, that's the best way to do it. If you'd like to sign up and you haven't already, the link to follow is www.sewingstreet.com/sign up. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Would you like to take part in our weekly competition? If you do, then all you have to do is head to the Sewing Street fan page group on Facebook. Post your picture of your make. Myself, Debbie Shaw, and John Cole Morgan love looking at all of your makes every week. We pick our favourite and announce the winner every Friday live on the show. Happy sewing and good luck.
I'm John Cole Morgan. Welcome back to our third hour. At 11 o'clock, we're going to be having a 2-minute silence. So we've got a commemorative slide coming in at 2 o'clock to observe the silence. So please stay with us for that after our show. And we're here on our VE Day 75-year commemorative show today. And I have got my favourite ruler brand collection here of creative grids. There are so many here. It's just, I'm getting absolutely dizzy with all the ways of doing these. We've got so many fabrics on this. So let's just start off by first of all showing you this fabulous collection of fabrics that we've got available with this. This is under the collection of the Star Quilt, and we've got, is it 6 meters of this? So it's a ½ meter of 9 different colors, 1.5 meters of white. So this is that fabulous color combination there. So again, you're getting 9 ½ meters of all these colours and 1.5 meters of the white here. And that's for £40.99. I did the show on Wednesday going through each of these different colourways. So let me just show you through that as well. So we've got our 1.5 meters of white. We've got this ½ meter of lavender. ½ meter of the fuchsia. ½ meter of candy, and then ½ meter of our chartreuse, ½ meter of our gold, look at that, ½ meter of our pomegranate, ½ meter of copin, ½ meter of peacock, and ½ meter of orange. And you can just tell that's our orange there. And you can just tell how perfectly they all coordinate together. And I think definitely nowadays people are really enjoying being able to, pardon me, oh, inhaled there the wrong way, I apologise. You've got ½ meter of each of those colours there, and I think these solid colours are working really well at the moment, definitely making a bit of a revival. And even if you haven't got a project in mind, because I'll show you how I use these later. These are just a fabulous collection to add to your stash. That's 6 meters of fabric for £40.99. And don't forget, you've got our one P&P all day for £3.95. So that's our lovely colourway there. And I'm going to go straight into how I used these earlier this week in doing the non-slip 8-inch scrap crazy quilt ruler set earlier with the so this has only been on once, which was on Wednesday. I think that was the 7th, was it? the 6th of May. So you can go back and see a full tutorial on how we did this on the Scrap Crazy 8-inch there. What I did with all of these, you can tell I did all these fabulous different blocks using that ruler, but also using our star quilt combination, star quilt block bundle that I've got just shown you over here, using these all together just to kind of give everybody an idea of just how well these go together and how the colorways just perfectly blend in. But equally, they contrast each other enough in order to stand out, but whilst working so well together. Again, check out the tutorial that I did on Wednesday in order to be able to see exactly how it was that these all worked together. And how the ruler worked, because it's such a fabulous ruler on doing that. I'll just briefly show you the ruler pieces that you're getting with it, because with all of the Creative Grids trim tools, you're going to get a set of instructions like this, and in there you've got all the different ways that you can use the ruler. That's a different design, that's a design suggestion on the back, but don't forget, on every one of these instructions you've got this lovely QR code, and when you zap that QR code with your QR reader on your phone, it'll automatically take you through to a YouTube tutorial on how it is that all works. And it also shows you then the layout of how the block goes together, and that is also the way that you actually then cut all your pieces out on it. I used 11-inch squares on cutting this out first because I'm a little bit nervous not having used the ruler together. You don't need to use such a big square. A 10-inch layer cake will work absolutely perfectly. You've got 3 different sections for your ruler: the B, the C, which is this one here, and then A and B. And the reason it's A and B is you've got this cutting line over here for B, so you'll be able to use this not only for A and B, and then you'll cut, oh, of course I dropped the one piece I need. You'll cut 2 of the number C, you'll see here in the black, that's how the C pieces fall into the block as you go. So it's a really lovely ruler that, again, check on the 6th of May. If you haven't looked at our YouTube channel, Sewing Street, the great thing about it is any tutorials that we've done, anything that we've done, is all on the website, on the YouTube channel. So you can go back and look that all up, and you'll be able to see how fabulous that ruler was to use. And you can tell how much I loved it because I've cut so much that I'm going to take home and go and sew together. So that was the 8-inch one. Also on the 6th, I showed you the 6-inch one, but I also used that as a big tutorial. I can't remember what date that was. What date was it? 31st of March. So if you want to watch me doing the full demo on the 6-inch Scrap Crazy grid, pop on the 31st of March and you'll be able to then go back on it. So you can see that is how the block is going to come out with all of those 4 pieces on there. You've got all the different cutting suggestions on how to do it, and again you've got that fabulous QR code on the beginning, so if you are a bit stuck as to how to use it, the great thing is that QR code has got loads of different suggestions on how to do it, and you'll be able to see different ways of using your rulers. This one you're getting 4 different rulers on here, so I've got 3 of them on screen at the moment, and you've got a tiny little ditty one which is number D. But equally they've given you an additional suggestion over here where you can do option E, where you can cut a piece out and then sew that onto option A, and you'll be able to see the different ways that works as well. And that is the 6-inch ruler there. And then these are just some of the samples that I've made using various colours to do that. Just to see as well. So this pops in really beautifully as well with the star colourway of all the different solids that we had earlier on as well. The 6 metres of fabric there for £40.99. But it's a really great tool to use in combination with the 8-inch one, because you've got that 6 and 8-inch measurement. They'd work really well. So if you did 6 blocks of 8, you could use then 8 blocks of 6 in order to make a nice little border around that as well. So with the Creative Grids brand, there are so many different rulers that you can get and you can use, and you'll see that in whether it's my demo or other people's demos, you're always going to see us using these. We have got, the one I was using earlier was an 8.5-inch square. Oh, sorry, I've gone out of order there, apologies. So the basic ruler that every single one of us has, if you're doing any form of rotary cutting, is this fabulous 24.5-inch by 6.5-inch Creative Grids non-slip rectangular ruler. You'll see that everybody uses this as a standard ruler. It's a great one to cut full width of fabric. You've got your Creative Grids non-slip grip dots on the back here on all of your rulers by Creative Grids. You've also got this line over here. And the great thing is, so you can see that that's completely shiny on your screen. That doesn't have any dots on it. So most of our rulers are like that. So if you did put those down on your ruler, you can see it does move around. But this side, you can see, if I can find the lights of the studio, there you go. You can see you've got these grippy non-slip dots, Creative Grid dots on there. So if I put those down, you can see the ruler doesn't move anywhere near as much, and I'm moving quite vigorously on the table. But that's a really great protective mechanism for you to use as well. 24 inches, 24.5 inches by 6.5 inches there. You've got your usual lines there with your angles. You've got a 60-degree line, 45-degree line, and somewhere on here is the 30-degree line. I have seen it. I think it's using the 60, oh, there it is there. 30 degrees there, 60 degrees further up. So it just depends whether you use it this way or whether you rotate your ruler and use it that way. You've got your 30 degree and your 60 degree. So that is our 24.5 inch by 6.5 inch ruler, and it is a go-to message as well. 6 by 12. But if you don't want something quite so long, we've got this lovely 6 by 12. I love these because sometimes a 24 inch, if you're going to do a sewing day, you haven't quite got the room. It's a little bit cumbersome taking it around with you. So Creative Grids, as usual, have thought of absolutely everything. And we've got the 6.5 width by 12.5 length. So it's almost half of the other ruler that we've got there, but it's got exactly the same technology. So you can see on the screen now, again, that's the slippy side of it. So a normal ruler would have that, whilst Creative Grids have got their non-slip grip dots, that's what they're called. If I use those down, turn them again, it doesn't move anywhere near as much, and you can see I'm really wobbling the table there. You can tell over here by the movement of the sewing machine just how much I'm wobbling it. And the ruler doesn't shift. It's not completely non-slippable, but it definitely reduces the amount of slip that your ruler has on it. But for classes, if you're going anywhere, or even just sometimes having the 24 inch, it's a big ruler. It does get in the way. So I do find as well, I do use a slightly smaller ruler in order to do it. And this 12.5 inch by 6.5 inch is a really great size to be able to use for any of the projects that you've got going on. Really, really great one, that. And earlier you saw me using the 8.5 by 8.5 square. This is the 12.5 by 12.5 inch square. So just like I was squaring my triangles up earlier, you can tell I've got this 45-degree line that you would line your seam line up, and you can then square your blocks to 12.5 inches, which is a pretty standard size for quilting. I didn't mention before, every one of Creative Grids' ruler have this little hole in the top of them. I'll just quickly flick back onto each of these to show you that it does have. And these are for you to be able to store your rulers safely and in a way that works for you. So you can see that that's got on there. A lot of people have got those long peg lines in their studios in order to store all their rulers, because they do get in the way sometimes. This again has got that wonderful little hole to be able to store them. It's the full 12.5 inches by 12.5, 45-degree line down the middle. So you can see, as I was doing my half square triangles earlier, I lined everything up. Can't really tell that. There you go, you can tell there. So I lined my seam of my half square triangle up with that. And that's a really great way of being able to get half square triangles to line up. And certainly if you cut big pieces of fabric to be able to cut a 12.5 square triangle, half square triangle, that's a good way. But even any 12.5 inch block that you're doing, this is a great tool to be able to square the block up. And again, it's got that Creative Grids technology that it does have those non-slip grippy dot things. I'm always going to call them grippy dot things, even though they're not called grippy dot things. So that's a really good ruler to have that most of us have in our collection already. But then we've got the fabulous Stripology rulers. I'm going to start with the very, very big one. So I'm going to just move these over here. So we've got the XL one here. Now Vicky did the most fabulous demonstration of this XL ruler. On what date? So she did a really good demo on this, because this is a brand new ruler that we've had in. launched it on the 23rd of April, we launched it. So you can go and watch that on the 23rd of April, but equally Vicky did a really long, intense tutorial on this as well. And I think that was on the 2nd of May. So the great thing on our YouTube channel is you can go back and watch each and every one and how you do it. So this has got that wonderful technology that if you want to cut a square out, you've got the ability to do that here. So you can square everything up on this. You can cut your 1 inch, oh, there we go. So whatever line you're doing, so you've got the stars are for 1.5 inch cuts. So the number of us who do have a piece of fabric in there and we're thinking, right, I'm going to cut 1.5 inch pieces, we cut, and you get to this point and you're like, oh gosh, how am I going? Creative Grids have thought of that for you as well. So you can see where it says star in the corner over here, when I put my fingers underneath it, you can see it says 1.5 inch cut with the stars, and then at the squares are 2.5 inch cuts. So as you go along, you can see all the stars will be 1.5 inches, whilst all the squares will show you where the 2.5 inch line is. And that goes the full length of the ruler to be able to just make your life a little bit easier in order to do the standard cutting sizes that you would normally use for any form of stripping. That way you go. So this is the extra large ruler. This is the newest one to Creative Grids. Sorry, I'm just lost to this. What they've done very cleverly is you've got the original Stripology rulers here that we had before, but they've also put in the square rulers as well. So you've got the height of the Stripology squares here, which is 12.5. So you've got the height of the Stripology squares here with the width of the original ruler as well, which is a really great addition that they've done with it. Really lovely little ruler here as well. So if you're cutting larger bits of fabric, there's a huge amount of advantages using this. And it's just, sorry, there was just a funny bug flew on me there. I didn't quite know what that was. Sorry. It's a really lovely ruler, and again, I haven't tested this myself, but Vicky's done the most fantastic demo on the 2nd of May, so please watch back on that. It's an amazing ruler, and again, it's got those wonderful Creative Grids dots on the back. You can't really tell there, but it's got the wonderful there we go, you can see it's got those grip lines in there so that the ruler doesn't slip at all, and it is a very, very safe ruler to use, and it's just got that fantastic Creative Grids technology behind it, so it's just an amazing, amazing deal. Really lovely ruler that. So that's the XL one. So the good thing with this as well, you'll always see me using this wonderfully large 34 inch by 22.5 inch rotating cutting mat. Sorry, it's not a rotating cutting mat, it's a self-healing cutting mat. What this is so great about this is that if you're cutting widths of fabric, most widths of fabric are around 42 inches, so you'll have a fabric piece the full width of this board. If you're buying something slightly smaller, you're normally going to get round about 18 by 12 inches, which is fine for most piecing, but when you're cutting a longer piece, this board is absolutely perfect for that because you're able to then get the full width of the fabric on the mat, cut the whole way, whereas if you've got a smaller mat, which is maybe 18 by 12, you're not able to get to the end of, once you get to 18 inches, which is there, your fabric may very well carry on for another 4 or 5 inches. So you're not getting as accurate a line cutting all the way through on that. So that's the great thing about it, and the price difference is not that much difference with having this area. You've got the Imperial on this side with all of your, you can see you've got the 45-degree line, that's 45 degrees. This is 30 degrees here. You've got a 60-degree line. You've also got the 45-degree line going along here. You've got your 30-degree line there, 45-degree and 60-degree line. So it's completely left and right-handed. You've got all of your dimensions. You've got them either in a bubble or without a bubble in order for you to be then, if you are left-handed, you're going to read one. If you're right-handed, you'll read the other. And it's just a really cleverly thought out mat by Millwood to be able to do it. It's a self-healing cutting mat, double-sided. So we've got the Imperial on this side, whilst this side's got the metric on it. So if you are doing more dressmaking as well, you'd be using centimetres anyway. So this has got a great you've got all the dimensions here. It's 87 by 57. Again, same technology where you're able to see, where are we? You'll see here you've got the circled number and you've got the normal number there. So normal for the want of a better word, don't think it's abnormal reading the number there. But you can see it, you increase that way, but this way, 23, 24, 25, you're increasing that way. So if you left it all right-handed, you'll easily be able to use the mat. You just rotate it around and it's what's easier for you. Again, you've got your usual angles, 30 degree, 60 degree and 45 degree on both sides of your ruler. And you've got a long 45 degree here, which I understand is the way you start off doing binding. You'd be able to have all of this done on one mat. Because I'm a quilter, forgive me, I'm turning this back to the imperial, because my brain works in inches now. Which I do find funny, because my fabric, it may be 1/2 metre long, but it's still 42 inches wide. That's just going to be in my brain there. So now going back to the creative grids, we've got this fabulous Stripology squared ruler. We've definitely done demos on this before as well. Do we have the date on that? This one we did on the 8th of March. So a really nice demo for you there on the 8th of March. I think that might have been me. Can't remember. Either Vicky or I were doing that. It was me. Also with Laura. So that is the Stripology squared ruler as well. And again, you'll be able to see it's got all those squared lines on it as well to be able to cut everything down. And we've got the Creative Grids technology behind there as well, which works very well. You're going to have to forgive me. I've got a little frog again. Sorry, talking for 3 hours gets a little bit in your throat there. Apologies for that. And there we go. So you've got that lovely ruler there. And again, check out our YouTube channel in order to go back and see how these are used really, the demos on those, to be able to make sure that we can get that done. It's always there for you. So whenever you're wanting to look for it, it's there. So that's our Stripology squared ruler by Gudrun Erler. Ooh, that's a nice name. And then, of course, we've got our Stripology squared mini ruler, which is great. Again, if you're just doing smaller squares, which I think the largest one you can go to is 6.5 inches on this one. Really good size on that. What date was that, sorry? The 8th of March this was on as well. So we did both of those on that day. So that's the Gudrun Erler ruler as well. Stripology mini quilt ruler. Brilliant. So next we've got, which one? The ovals, right. Where have we got the ovals? So one of the cutest rulers I've used recently is the oval ruler. And what I've done, I'll show you the ruler first. And you get a set of instructions with this as well, which will tell you how you're using it. But you can tell over here, you can get all these different shapes and sizes on how you do it. Again, I think I definitely did this ruler, but I can't remember what date that was. We're just looking at the date now. That was on the 23rd of March, so I did a really good demo on that to be able to show you exactly how you were doing it. But just as a tip, as where we were to remind you and how I used it, I've cut out various shapes using this ruler. I'll put these over it so you can tell. I think I lined that up with number A, I did. And then I cut along that line there, cutting out these shapes. So I cut them as quarters, and then, I can't remember which way around I did them. There we go. So that was, nope, that's the wrong way. Where are they? So they're all different sizes on all of the, I put Bonder web on the back of these so that I could do, there we go. There we go. So you can tell, you can do all these different incredible shapes on them. Equally, if you wanted to do them like this, you can go down to that small as well. And then we did one as well that you can do the inverse on the top of it. Something, is that right? Yes. So you can just tell, you can play around with it different ways and how you can play around with it and get it right and get it the shape that you want. But there are so many different options. Again, check out the YouTube tutorial that I did with this on the 23rd of March. You'll easily be able to see all the different samples that I made on that as well. They'll be a lot neater than what's coming out of the bag at the moment there. But the good thing is with this is you can cut through the bonder web. When you put the bonder web on the back of it, you can then just put that through, cut the size out that you like. So this one, if I remember correctly, I lined up with the C line. I did. Oh, no, it was the B line. There we go. And you can see I then just cut all the way through there to get these pieces out. And then this one I had the wrong way round, but again, I lined those all up to be able to get that. But what's great about it is that you can then get these empty oval lines. They just work so well. And you can just build this empty oval as you go through it all. You can see then you can just build them like that and then put different shapes in it. It's a really great ruler to play with and just to be able to experiment with, just using not a huge amount of fabric either, which is a really nice way of being able to do it. My top tip though is, where have I put it? These 28mm rotary cutters work really well getting into these corners over here, because the smaller the blade, the less likely it is it's going to go up to the top. So you're absolutely fine cutting to about there. Normally we all go like that and keep going. Just go a little bit slower when you get up here. It doesn't matter what size blade you're using, just slow down when you get to this point here. It just makes your life a little bit easier. But an absolutely wonderful, wonderful ruler to do. And again, you've got that QR code not only on the instructions but also on the ruler itself in order to see different ways of using the ruler that they recommend as well. Lovely little product there. Sorry, I can't hear you. Dresden plates. So the Dresden plates, I've done this one as well. So this one we demoed on. So this is the ruler that you're going to... So this one we did on the 22nd of April. So you're getting a lovely ruler there with the circle. And the circle, I'll show you, covers the middle. And then you've got the instructions, which are fantastic. And that QR code as well, that you'll be able to then get different ideas on how to do this. I did this with the Liberty fabric, which unfortunately is out of stock at the moment. And you can see that there are so many different ways. So this one, I didn't do anything with the edges. I just left them raw. And then with this one, I did the fan technique on the edges as well to be able to make sure that you could see the different ways of doing them. And then I did the curve technique as well. All of these are on that tutorial on the 22nd of March, 22nd of April. So you'll be able to see all the different techniques on doing those 3 different shapes edges. But you don't need to do a full one either. If you wanted to do that one, you could then do an applique at the top and make it look like a basket. Or you can do a quarter like that, and you can just have that coming out of the side of your quilt if you wanted to. That's not a full quarter, so what you would do is you would then take your piece like that, fold that in half, just to show you how simple it is to use this ruler once you've cut it. Again, all the demo is on the 22nd of April, so you'll easily be able to pull all that up. And once you've made that, you line it all up correctly, and you're sewing that onto there. So it's that simple in order to make the fan. And if you're wanting to use the circle to make circle edges, you just use that, as it tells you in the instructions, to be able to then curve the edges of all of these as well. And you don't have to do big Dresdens either, because this goes up to 8.5, is it? I think it was 8 3/4. Let me just double check. No, it's 9 inches. So you can cut to 8.5, but I think it does go, the length of it is 9 inches, so I think you can cut an 18, it does. 18, I think it's an 18-inch circle you can get out of it. But equally, you can do little tiny ditty ones. Do little tiny baby ones like this as well. And again, you're doing exactly the same technique. You'd fold those right sides together, sew down that edge, and you can do another little blade. And same technique, you just trim that little edge bit off there. And you can see you're just getting something totally different. And I'm just doing this by finger just to hold that down. But you can see that even with the smallest ones, you can tell how cute that's going to look. Just as a little tiny baby Dresden plate there. And these ones you can use any size you like, up to 9 inches with this ruler, 8.5 inches just to be safe. And you can just tell it really, really works very, very well. That demo was on the 22nd of April, so make sure you check back on that if you're interested in that ruler. I love it. I absolutely adore that. Kaleidoscope, kaleidoscope, kaleidoscope. Right. So this one we did on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, which is the 6th of May. Was on the 6th of May. So this one we're going to show, and I showed you a lot of really good tips on how to make sure that you don't do what I did and miss all your points in the middle. And that just, again, watch on the 6th of May on how I did all of those. And I think these bundles are still on the website as well, so when you go and look on the 6th of May, you'll be able to see it. But you can see how effective this block is. So all I've done here is two 2.5 inch pieces to make that one. With this one, I did a 2.5 inch piece, 2.5 inch piece, a 1 inch strip in the middle, and then trimmed off the top and the bottom to get them to the right height. And this is the one that I made on air the other day, and you can tell that was just using the errors that I'd found on how to do it, but that is just the most beautiful, beautiful way of doing it. But look at that one. And you just see all the different effects that you get with this fabulous ruler. It's a really, really great ruler, and it just, depending on the fabrics that you choose to go with it, they're just brilliant. So you can tell that that is exactly the same as that block. All I've done is I've used the fabrics in a slightly different way. And then this is the same, so that block there, using a different colorway, it's exactly the same thing, but it looks so different with the fabric that you choose. And that one as well. It's a really lovely, lovely combination of rulers, this, a really nice way of doing it. And then this one, I decided to do 1.5 inch strips all the way. And it's just, you've got so much creativity in order to do this. And all you're doing is creating strip sets, just as you would normally create normal basic strip sets. You're putting your ruler on top of that, lining everything up as you're supposed to. Oops, where'd my rotary cutter go? There it is. And then you're trimming this, you're cutting that there, holding everything in place, and you're cutting it there. And you've got 3 already, and you tone, when you put them together, that's what we're doing. So it's just a really, really effective ruler. Again, you've got that lovely QR code on there, so any form of videos or instructions or messages from the website of Creative Grids, any tutorials and things they've got on there. And once you've made your block, like that, when you want to square it off as well, it shows you how to cut the squares out in order to do the squaring up of your block, to be able to make them all squares, to be able to sew them together, and that's using the ruler as well. And you're just absolutely brilliant little ruler in being able to come up with different ways of doing it. And what I love is when you're playing with it, you can come up with different, if you cut loads of different colors as well, you could do 4 in one colorway and 4 in another colorway. So you're not limited to just using one colorway on this, and it just gives you a totally, totally different block. Oops, I've got that the wrong way around. There we go. So you can see I've got 4 solids in the middle and with different colors on the outside, and you can see it changes so differently. But then if I do these, again, it's a totally, totally different block. So it's a really, really versatile ruler, this. Really nice ways of doing different things with it and learning how to do these different kaleidoscope blocks. The largest kaleidoscope you can make with this is 4.5 inches, which is a nice size because your block ends up at, well, I can tell you now, just over 8.5 inches. So that's a really nice little ruler there. That is our 45-degree kaleidoscope triangle ruler. And again, we've got that Creative Grids technology on that with our non-slip grippy dot thingies. My favorite one that I've been using of late is this hexagon one. It is absolutely fabulous. This is the hexagon trim tool. This is the hexagon trim tool, and I'm going to put some white fabric here so you can see it. And you've got the QR code again. This comes with a set of instructions which will tell you exactly how it is that you use the ruler, and you go round with round 1, round 2, round 3, and with that, so I'll show you round 1. Where are my, there's a finished block there. So this is a finished block that I've already made, so I'll show you how you're going around with it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to recognize that, I'll put it here again. On your round 1, you've got a solid line over there, and you've got a dotted line. So the dotted line is going to be the area that you're actually going to see that's going to be left over, whereas the dark line is your seam allowance. So when you cut this all out, you will be then lining that up with the edge of your fabric, whilst the dotted line is what's going to show in your finished product. So you can tell here, my little dotted line over here, if I line that all up, not only am I getting the dark grey that I've used here, but you've also got these little holes here that actually makes it that you can line up exactly in order to make sure that that is where your points are going to meet. So that would be your round 1, and then as you progress and go through the block, you can see there's round 2, there's your dotted line over here. You can see the dotted line. You're lining that up with the rest of your hexagon there. Again, you've got the little dots to make sure that you're meeting those points in that area, and you're then squaring everything up as you go along. And you just move it down as you go. So that would be your round 3 when you're squaring everything up there, and then when you've finished, you're lining everything up to go there. But you're not only doing that size. If you wanted to do a larger hexagon, yep, that one there. So if you were wanting to do a 4-inch hexagon, you can tell over here it says 4-inch hexagon. So you would cut your hexagon out normally using those dark lines to cut it out, and then that's how you would go. So that would be your round 1, and then you would move along for your hexagon 4-inch, round 2, and then you'd slide it over to the edge, and you've got your hexagon 4-inch, round 3, in order to line your ruler up and square everything off, which is just a really nice way of being able to demo the ruler. And again, you can maybe see that a little bit better with the big contrast of colour there. It's just a really clever ruler to be able to create that sort of pineapple effect. And also then if you wanted to just cut out an 8.5-inch normal hexagon in white, you can do that. But equally, if you just want to cut out a half hexagon, you've got that ready to go there as well. But on top of that, you've also got your 120-degree setting triangles, because if you put these blocks, let's say you've got 3 or 4 of these blocks ready to go, you've lined these all up, and then let's say this is the edge of your quilt that you're finished with, you then can put your half hexie there. Let me slide that down so you can see it. And get your half hexie there. But then you can put your setting triangles in there as well to be able to just finish off the block perfectly all the way along. So however many of these you would need, you've got that option whilst you cut them out here. You've got that setting triangle as a section in your ruler to be able to do it. Equally, you've got your half hexie over here to cut out as well, to get that ready as well. So it's a really clever ruler in how you do it, and you get these fabulous pineapple techniques all the way through your ruler. And as you've done them, you're going to find different ways of actually displaying them, because I've borrowed the ruler and I'm playing with it in my studio at the moment. But it's a really, really lovely ruler, this, because you can see what I've done now is I've created these little mini pineapples all the way around, and then if you kept these all the same colour, when you put your block in the middle, you can do really fun things in the middle. So if you wanted these all to be the same colour, you could do the outside all in one colour, and then in the middle you can just have a totally different way of doing it. It's just something different and fun and exciting. It's a lovely little technique, that. What was the date of the demo again? 29th of April was the date of that demo, so do check back on that and you'll be able to see. That's the hexagon trim tool by Creative Grids. Next we've got our curvy log cabin. So again, you're going to get your fabulous ruler and you're going to get a set of instructions that go with it. And these instructions are really, really good, and they give you different ways. You can just see these different rulers and the different shapes that you can make with it. It's a really, really great ruler, this. Again, you've got your QR code there to be able to watch the tutorial that comes straight from Creative Grids. What I've done here is I've created a couple just in using black and white colorways, just to be able to show. Now, most of the log cabins have a pink, red or orange center, which are the blocks that I've done here, because when this may be an urban myth, but the tradition says that when a young lady got married, she would go off and if things didn't work out, she could always come home because the home fires were always burning for her. So that was the symbolism of that. But equally, not only do you have to create that rounded effect, you can do it that way as well, which gives you a totally different look. Previously we had the Liberty on as well, and what I did is I created this using it the inverse. So you can see I've got my dark on the inside and the light on the outside. But again, we've got so many different ways of being able to do this, use this ruler, and those are the bits to make the last bit over there. So you can just use your imagination that comes out in the thing. But it does create a nice little circular feel on it. And this is the 8-inch curvy log cabin ruler here. And there's so many different ways, because even if you wanted to do it like that, it gives you a totally different feel having that in. You've got so many different ways of playing with the ruler to be able to make it work. You can see you've got a nice little curve going in and a curve going out there as well. So there's so many different ways of using this ruler. Sure. What were the dates of this one again? This was done on the 1st of May. If I'm not mistaken, the log cabin trim tool, we did that previously as well. I thought I did one in April or March, so not a problem. So these are, now this is the 8-inch log cabin trim tool. You're going to get this fabulous set of instructions as well. That's the log cabin trim tool set of instructions there, and you've got the QR code. And you can see as well, you can make either a log cabin or quart steps, or you can make a quarter, what do we call that? A half log cabin. So this ruler is very, very easy to use. You're going to be cutting out your, if you're doing a normal log cabin square, it tells you the size on how big you're cutting it. So that's where you would line it up for round 1, and you would trim all the way around there. And then you'd rotate your fabric round as you were going, line it up to round 1 again and trim. And then as you're going up, so when you're doing round 2, you're lining that block up, you would trim over that edge there, and then rotate your fabric, line that up there. And then again, you're trimming that up again. And then when you're in your 3rd and final round, you then trim the ruler up accordingly. So that is the way that this would work out if you were doing those just as log cabins. That's just in an old Moda fabric that we had. But equally, you can do quart steps with it. And in the black and whites that I used previously, I also did the quart steps with that there. And equally, I did the half log cabin as well. I think they called it half log cabin on there. Yes, they have. So you can see that you can then do these in different shapes to create a nice little optical illusion on that and make those be a separate block as well. So that was our half log cabin. We also had that on, what date was it? The 2nd of May. 1st of May. I did do one in April as well, so we can just check that out as well. So anybody on there, if you just look on the YouTube, sorry? So just have a double check on the website if you can't find the tutorial. We have done loads of them, so that's great. Now this one I've not seen before. This is the log cabin trim tool, but it's also for the 6-inch and the 12-inch. This is trim tool 2. Again, you get your wonderful set of instructions there. It's going to be the same design and same blocks as we get with the 8-inch. You're just able to do these either as the 6-inch or the 12-inch. And you can tell already that again, you've got the how big you're cutting your centered squares out with there, and you move them along the way for each round that you go to trim the block up. And you would then trim it on this side, rotate the fabric round, and then trim on the other two sides as well. Same for the 12-inch ones. You can be able to see that's your center square being cut at 3.5 inches. You would start off doing it there. This would be your round 1, this would be your round 2, and then your round 3 would come off as well. So it would be exactly the same as this ruler that we've previously shown you here. And you would make the same blocks. They would just either be 6 or 12 inches rather than the 8 that we've got here. And you'd be able to make the half log cabin, exactly the same block as this, but obviously in 6 or 12 inches. Or you'd be able to make the court steps, which is this log cabin, but obviously the sizes would be slightly larger. Or you'd be able to make the log cabin like that as well, just as a standard log cabin. And you can do that as 6 or 12 inches on that as well. So that is just such a wonderful collection of Creative Grids rulers that we've got there. And I'm so pleased to have been able to recap everything that we've got. How's our early bird been doing? Oh, it's been selling really, really well. We've still got some left over. So I'll just recap the early bird for you there. This is a fabulous embroidery thread organizer there. You're getting the plastic box, and you're getting the 100, you can just see the outline of them there. Those are 100 embroidery, what are we calling this? Paper bobbins. They're called paper bobbins. And the great thing there is whatever threads that you've got for DMC, you can take these off the skeins here and wrap them around these wonderful bobbins in there. And then inside the box, you can see the partitions already lined out. So you can then store those paper bobbins all the way through the these compartments. But then you've also got a little compartment there you can keep a pair of scissors in, a little tape measure. You can see that they popped little scissors in there and everything. It's a really great combination of the box on its own, but you're also getting a random selection of 10 DMC skeins with there. So we all know that DMC skeins cost between £1 and £1.50 per skein. And now you're going to get a random selection of 10 to go with the box as well. It's been selling really, really well this morning, so congratulations to all of you who've been able to get that. Sorry. And now we've got our favourite, one of my favourite things to do, Make of the Week. Everybody who is the Make of the Week this week wins free postage and packaging on your next order. That is Elaine Poole, Tina Lawrence and Ronnie Foster. Congratulations to all of you, well done. And these are our makes. We've got Elaine Poole with our fabulous little Dresden there, congratulations. And then we've got Tina Lawrence with that incredible quilt there, well done, that's amazing. And then we've got Ronnie Foster with such a cute bag, wonderful. Congratulations to all of our winners of Make of the Week at the moment. Just message into the studio in order to get your promo code. So what have we got on our show tomorrow? This is with me. We've got the 8 AM, we've got fabrics, and then we've got the fabulous Alison Glass quilt. I'm really struggling bringing that into the studio tomorrow. Miss it or miss out Liberty fabrics, because as always, we get to that point where the Liberty does sell out, and we're at that point now, so it's the last of it to just bring it to you to show you. That'll be tomorrow at 10 AM. And yeah, really excited about that. So we've had a really great hour today, and I'm just going to recap on this wonderful bundle of fabric that we've got here. We've got 9.5 meters of colours here, and we've also got 1.5 meters of the white. This one on the website you'll see is called the Star Quilt Fabric Bundle. A really great combination of colours here. You've got the orange, we've got the peacock, we've got the copen, we've got the fuchsia, is it? Pomegranate, got gold, chartreuse, candy, pink, fuchsia and lavender. Those are the 9 colours that we've got there. 1/2 meter of each of those and 1.5 meters of the white. I'll just show you the size of the fabric you're going to be getting. So this is a 1/2 meter of the orange. So you can see it's a huge piece of fabric there, 1/2 meter by 42 inches. Every single piece will be about that, will be that size. Just obviously in the different colours, and it's just such a nice little stash builder, this, and it's a really nice combination of colours. They work so beautifully together. I used those on Wednesday in our 8-inch Scrap Crazy quilt design. Lovely little combination there. And just to show you how these work together as well, I think it's always fun to see how they work as a combination of colours. Really works very well, and it's just quite nice. You can see here I've sewn these two together as well. It's just a nice, fresh, different way of using your fabrics and using colour blocking and sort of inspired by that Mondrian different way of doing things. And you can see all of these blocks are so different, but when you put them together, they work really, really, really well. How long have I got? So now we're coming up to our 2-minute silence for VE Day. Today obviously is the 75-year anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe. Very, very special day with so many people we owe so much to over the years. If you do know anybody who was involved in the war at that time, please do ask them for their stories. It's really important to get those first-hand accounts of things. Not only people who took part in the war, but also people who were living through it, who unfortunately might be able to relate to some of the things that we're going through at the moment. It's just a really, really special time to pay thanks and to take a moment with our thoughts. We've got a huge commemoration today and we've got some fabulous commemorative products as well. Please do check that out, and we're going to observe the 2-minute silence in a few seconds. Really thank you all so much for your time today, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.